What is it you want, Barry? What do you want? You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
Come with me if you want to live.
That's it, man. Game over, man. Game over.
The Force will be with you, always.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to 20th Century Geek. I'm your regular host, Scott Weatherly, and I am being joined by two wonderful people today to don capes and cowls and scour the streets of Gotham City for crime and ne'er-do-wells. I'm being joined by Mike and Megan. Mike of Genuine Chit Chat and Star Wars in Canon. So I'm going to throw this out to you guys. Introduce yourselves to the listeners. Who are you and where do you come from?
Well, as you said, Mike Burt from Genuine Chit Chat and Star Wars Comics in Canon. And Megan is my lovely girlfriend who has to listen to me talk about podcasting a lot, watch many of the great films that, well, some not so great, but some of the great films that I watch. And Megan's like a new nerd, I'd say.
Yeah, I've recently been introduced to the nerdy world.
I mean, you've been a nerd for like Game of Thrones and Harry Potter.
Yeah.
You're a massive Harry Potter and pretty big Game of Thrones nerd. I know that you, Scott, you've got your Harry Potter books somewhere in the background there.
I have. They're literally just here. Like, you know, there you go. I have all the hardbacks I've been getting, so yes.
But yeah, and obviously Megan's been on my show a couple of times, and as we've been doing more and more nerdy things, sometimes Megan likes to get involved, especially when it's watching like several films. So it's really cool us being able to do this because obviously you're such a massive long-term fan, and Megan's a bit of a newbie, so it's quite fun.
Yeah, that's it. Well, that's it. So I love the way you said introduced and not like indoctrinated or sort of like brainwashed. That's a much more nicer way of thinking of it. So
we've both done it to each other in some ways because she's got me into sort of musicals and stuff a lot more. So it was a trade-off initially. So it was I got her into Star Wars and she got me into musicals. She took me to see Book of Mormon. I took her to see Wicked, and then
you've seen Book of Mormon? Have you seen it on stage? Oh, you lucky people!
She's seen it like 3 times.
I've seen it 3
really?
times. Yeah.
I've seen it once, and we had tickets for it this year. And it's got postponed to next year. It is phenomenal.
I've listened to the music and everything, but no, I'd give anything to see that. It's amazing.
It is so
honestly,
good.
if you get a chance to 100% go. It is like, obviously musicals, there's so many different genres, but like for comedic value, it is by far my favorite. It's so good.
Yeah, it's one of those. I tried to sort of tease the wife into sort of to Alex to say like, look, this could be funny. It's not her humor. She listened to like 2 of the songs and was just like, ugh, it's so good. It's great. So I will go one day. I will, because I'd love to see that. So yeah, so jealous.
It is amazing. I got to show Megan the South Park movie as well, which she was hesitant to watch. But then when you watch it, it's got so many links to other musicals like Les Miserables and stuff.
Yeah, there was a whole scene in the South Park musical where I was watching it and I was like, I'm pretty sure this is Les Mis. Like, I'm pretty sure this is Les Mis. And then, like, a second scene happened, and I was like, this is definitely Les Mis. It's like 100% a reference.
So, yeah, we're the kind of couple where we'll just, like, watch. Megan's happy to watch relatively anything I show her, and then normally I'll watch anything that she shows me. So, it's a nice little trade-off thing. Not everything I show her lands, not everything she shows me lands. Like, Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat was a bit of a miss for me in musicals, but she showed me loads of other cool films as well, which is good.
Yeah, you can buy the 2. We've got some coming up on Stories Out of Time and Space next year. We're going to be doing Little Shop of Horrors, which we did Rocky Horror Picture Show this year as well. So
yeah, I've got that. Megan wants to show me that, and neither of us have seen Little Shop of Horrors.
I've not seen
We've got lots of lists about.
Yeah, Little Shop of Horrors, immense. I love that film. Anyway, we should move on. Although, let's be fair, the first one of these films we're going to talk about could well have broken out into a musical. It's that sort of camp and bizarre. But we are going to be talking about, this is the Batman retrospective. So it's going to be, it's all dark and it's going to be gritty and probably not for this episode, to be fair. But in fact, probably not for the second episode. If you think Batman 66 is camp, you wait till you get to Batman and Robin and George Clooney.
Yeah, Megan doesn't know anything about Batman and Robin. I've seen it years ago, and I remember bits and pieces, but I've saved a lot of the things I remember.
Yeah, my Batman knowledge is pretty is pretty small, to be fair.
Well, let's start with that then, really, because I'm a proper Bat nerd. So, in fact, I'm going to start with you then, Megan. So, what is your Batman knowledge? What do you know? What would be your baseline knowledge of Batman?
I know he's a rich guy. That's really, I know that like the basic premise of Batman. I've seen like a handful of not even a handful, it's a really small amount of the movies. So I've seen The Dark Knight, and obviously now I've seen Batman 66 and the other two that I can't actually remember the name.
Batman and Batman Returns.
Batman and Batman Returns.
And you saw Batman Begins a while ago, didn't you?
Yeah, but I saw that so long ago that I literally remember nothing about it. And I have seen Justice League that has Batman in it.
Yeah, but that's also probably, apart from, and Batman vs Superman you saw. So the two...
Yeah, but again, the thing with films is that it takes a while for me to actually remember what happens. So I have to rewatch a film a couple of times for me to remember quite a lot of the stuff. I'm quite forgetful. But no, my knowledge of Batman is incredibly
It's your
small.
brother who loves Batman.
My brother loves Batman.
He's got like all comics of Batman.
Yeah, he reads the comic books and stuff.
I borrowed a few off him to try and scratch up on my knowledge, because mine's not as much either.
So what about you then, Mark? So what you say wasn't much, but what was it then? What is your baseline Batman knowledge?
Well, I'd seen pieces of Batman 66 in part, and then the four sort of I looked online. They're kind of like the Burton verse, the kind of 80s, 90s Batman ones. I've seen them all at some point in my life. I think they're the kind of shows that are on like ITV, and you kind of watch it when I'm like 8 or 10 with dinner or whatever. So I remember certain bits and pieces. I unfortunately remembered the most about Batman and Robin, I'd say. But then the true sort of love of Batman came with the Dark Knight trilogy, which I think is quite a common thing for a lot of our sort of generation in that way, because it's like that true dark grittiness that people expect that they get from the comics. And I played Arkham Asylum and Arkham City as well, and obviously I've seen Justice League and the sort of the DCEU and the Nolan verse I'd seen, and I had like the peripheral knowledge. I knew like bits and pieces, and I knew most of the villains, but really that was probably only the last 10 years. When I was a kid, it was really, I wasn't that into Batman when I was younger. So it's kind of like Megan is only recently sort of getting into them, and because of the retrospective, she'll have seen probably all the Batman films by the end, relatively. But yeah, me, it's been, I'm probably like an average, like the mainstream almost Batman fan, just kind of dip my toes in. And what I didn't realize as well until I looked it up was Batman 66. I thought was the first Batman film, but there's one from 1943.
There is, but I didn't want to put you through it.
Is it really, really bad?
If you think Adam West's costume looks a bit iffy, go back. It's on YouTube, because it's obviously, I think it's out of copyright and stuff. But like, it's, go onto YouTube and find it, and just put in some of the Batman serials from the 50s and that, and it's not good. They try their best, but like, it's one of those where not that I can ever talk, but like you see like Ben Affleck or some of those guys now when they're sort of training to be Batman, and they're like they're ripped, like they've really put effort in, and they're sort of like huge. And then you sort of see this guy from the 40s, and you're just like, look, we've got this tubby guy. He looks pretty big, no definition, and we've put him in a really ill-fitting Halloween costume. Yeah.
And I would ask as well with you, Scott, when did you like properly get into Batman? Has it been like a lifelong thing for you?
No, Batman =89. So I was about 8 when it came out, and granted it's a 15, but like it was there. What year you guys born? Just
94.
We're both 94.
Okay, so it was even before you were born. There you go. So I was 8, going on 9 when it came out. It came out in June '89, and you couldn't avoid it. Like, it was just ubiquitous. It was everywhere. It was one of the biggest things of that year. It was the year I'd started going to the cinema, and so it was just everywhere. And that was it. That was when I was like, I'd go into. It was also around that time I started getting into like 2000 AD and really getting into comics. So yeah, it was around that it was Batman '89 that really got me into it. And then obviously soon after, and we'll get into that in the next episode, was the animated series that started in '92, and that was it. Then that was sort of like and then it goes off in a direction, which we'll talk about in the next episode. But yeah, so it was around that time really that I got into it and started reading the comics and getting all the all kinds of bits and pieces from there. And most recently, you can't really see it because of the lights, but Eagle Moss Do you know that they do the part works and stuff? Like, every 2 weeks they release an issue. They've been doing 80 issues for the the Ultimate Batman graphic novel collection. So,
one of those that, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So I'm 4 away from completion.
Oh, nice.
I
always remember
on my top shelf. Yeah, they look really cool.
I always remember those sort of things. I'd always worry about them because sometimes it'd always be jinxed. Because I remember there was not that specific type, but there was one comic-y thing. I can't remember if it was Doctor Who or something like that. But when I was younger, and it was like, the Ultimate Collection, and then you get like that 5 or 6 in, and not enough people would buy it, so they would just stop, and you just have these 6 of like these one-off episodes. You're like, this is pointless. So it's good that you're right near the end.
At all, yeah. So let's jump in though. Let's jump into the film. So the first one I sort of let you, I asked you to watch was Batman 66, which was released a month. I've got the notes here, so I'm just going to make sure it's right. It was released a month after the end of the first season. So everything you see in this film was originally built and designed for a TV show, which ran for 4 seasons between sort of like 66 and 68. And obviously stars Adam West and Burt Ward, as Batman and Robin, and has a very distinctive 60s era. It's got that 60s vibe going for it. And I hadn't watched this in a few years, and I'd forgotten how much fun it is, but also how silly it is. So I'm going to give a quick plot, just because I'm just going to give this because it sort of explains it. Penguin, Joker, Riddler, and Catwoman team up, kidnap an inventor to steal his distillery machine, because he works for a whiskey company for some reason, so they can attack the World Council, evaporate them, and hold them to ransom, while hiding out in a penguin-shaped submarine. I think that sort of sums it up, to be fair.
It was so weird.
It was.
It was so weird. Everything about it was just so corny.
It was
like
great.
Literally anything that Robin said, I was just like, oh my God. Everything you say just makes me cringe inside.
Yeah, it's one of those that, even as a kid, I remember the first time I sort of watched this was not understanding that it was supposed to be like a comedy, like it's supposed to be that Silver Age 50s and 60s Batman, but not quite getting that it's a comedy. And so you sort of think like, wow, they are really, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to like this or be offended by it. Like I didn't get it when I was a kid. Luckily now I can watch it and go like, oh no, this is supposed to be stupid. Like this is, it's almost like a Mickey tape without being offensive, I think.
Yeah, it's almost like, I don't like these types of films because most of them are horrendous, but like epic movie, superhero movie, date movie. Yeah. It's almost like that of Batman, but if it was made in the 60s, it is kind of, it's so over the top and odd. Like it's if you're not ready for it, it really knocks you off. If you haven't, like when Megan watched it, I was like, just to warn you, Megan, this film is like really bad, but in kind of a good way. You have to kind of laugh at it to enjoy it. If you take it as, if you watch Dark Knight and then you go into 66, you're going to have a very bad time.
I mean, they're 2 completely different genres of film, though, aren't they?
The only common factor is there's someone in it called Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, again, I like the fact that this film sort of it sets out its stall from the very beginning, though, in 2 very distinctive ways. Like you actually get a statement at the beginning that says, to them, and the lovers of adventure, lovers of pure escapism, lovers of unadulterated entertainment, lovers of the ridiculous and the bizarre. There you go. So it's laying out stall. To fun lovers everywhere, this picture is respectfully dedicated. So it's almost telling you, like, this is going to be weird, and we don't care.
We encourage the weird because everything about this film is weird.
Except, I will say, the Batmobile in this, I'd say, is incredible.
Yeah,
I thought the 66 Batmobile, when I saw it, I was like, I can't actually remember how the 66 Batmobile looks. I saw it, I was like, that's probably the coolest thing in the whole film. I thought it's amazing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a failed prototype. It was a legit car that was designed and was rejected. And I forget who it was, but someone who was working on the TV show at the time sort of knew them, and they were like, yeah, no one wants this. Do you? But they sort of did some alterations to it and sort of stuff, and you get the Batmobile.
The crazy thing is that you can now drive that car, like that style car, because obviously, because Google listens to everything, I must have said to someone that I watched Batman, and then it came up as an advert on Virgin Experiences that you could drive the superhero cars, and I was like, okay.
Well, for a couple of grand, you can buy one. I think for like $4 or $5 you can buy you can buy those kit cars. You can buy the 66 Batmobile as a kit car and then build it yourself and then drive around wherever you want.
Wow.
So, the temptation is, if I won the lottery, I'll tell you what, that's how I'd go and quit from work. I'd turn up in the Batmobile and be like, yeah, I'm off.
I was about to say, I was like, that's the kind of thing that, like, if I had loads of money in unlimited time, if I just suddenly got like millions and millions of pounds thrown at me, I'd be like, yeah, I'll have a Batmobile. Why not?
It's got, get the top down, get you some sun as you drive along, that'd be brilliant. What did you think then as you're sort of going into it? You've seen that, you got the intro, and then you get two guys literally in sort of like cottony lycra being attacked by a rubber shark.
Oh my God, the shark, man.
Do you want to go first with your opinion on the shark?
The shark was just, I understand the gag, but it just lasted so long. The joke just felt like it was never ending.
My favourite part is the fact that one of my favourite things about 66 and the ridiculousness of it is how many anything with the word bat in front of it.
Oh yeah, bat everything.
But it was also just the shark repellent spray. It's like, oh, and then you've got like Penguin at the end after they sort of beat the shark. And he's like, God, it's such a shame he had that shark repellent spray. And it's like, does that thing even exist? Like, how could you have known? Like, that doesn't exist, shark repellent spray. But when he was just like, as soon as he's getting bitten by it and just like smacking it, and it goes on for like 2 or 3 minutes, and it's just wavy rubber thing just flapping, and like Adam West hanging off this rope.
Oh yeah, he's upside down hanging. He's like upside down passing the bat shark repellent spray to him, and he's like doing some crazy limbo movements, which is
and you got Robin, who just leaves the Batcopter just flying itself perfectly fine as he climbs down to give him the shark repellent spray, and then it hits the water and explodes, and you're like, what's happening here? As soon as that happened, I was like, okay, I remember this film being crap when I was younger, but now it's like bad good, so I can laugh with it. And I was, the whole time, every time anything was happening, I was just cracking up. It's so dumb. It's amazing.
It is, and that's the point. I think the moment you have sort of like, it's called shark repellent bat spray, and I love the fact that in the helicopter you've got a selection of them. It's not just one. He's got like 3 or 4 of them ready. Like there's an octopus spray, and I think there's another one. Like they're prepared. But one of the things I love about this is not only like in the helicopter and everything, like the Batcopter, sorry, but then when you go back to the Batcave, either Batman, Robin, or Alfred, they're like one of those people. Do you remember those label makers? You'd rotate it and you'd make labels. Someone bought them a label maker and they've just gone mad with it because everything is labeled.
Oh, I wrote one of the things down. I think it was super molecular dust separator is one of them. And he's just like, did you really need to label that? Like, you can see it. I've got some notes here of just all, I think I wrote down each time there was a bat something. Yeah. And I was like the bat gas and the bat wake.
It was just bat everything. Also going to Alfred, the thing that made me laugh the most is when Alfred joined them on the on their like little escapades, and the only thing that was different is that he was wearing some like crappy little mask underneath his glasses on top. So his glasses were on top. He looked exactly the same, except he had some like small black piece of fabric around his eyes.
The Joker tried to like rob, there was one point where was that in the next one?
I honestly can't remember.
It's in the Joker. When they break into the World Council, and Joker's wearing a pinky purple mask, and you're thinking, not really needed.
No, you've got like white skin and that.
Why didn't they shave his mustache? Why has the Joker got face paint over his mustache?
Yeah. So this is a thing actually. So like the guy who played the Joker, Cesar Romero, like he plays it throughout the 4 seasons, outright refused to shave. But he'd already got the part, and they really wanted him, so they just paint over it.
It's so ridiculously like obvious that there's a mustache.
Especially on the shots, you'd think that they would think, okay, he's not shaving his mustache, let's do a few, sort of keep him from a distance a little bit or certain angles. But there's one point where the camera's, it's almost just his face taking up the whole frame. And you can just see the bristles of the mustache, especially now, because like where we watched it, it was like Blu-ray quality and stuff. So it was like proper, really, and you're thinking this has been remastered probably too many times. Probably should have watched it on like VHS, because you start to see it, like the penguin's nose, it doesn't fully match the color of his skin. And there's loads of little bits where you're like, I should have watched this on VHS rather than Blu-ray.
It is one of those where you sort of like, because I watched it on Blu-ray as well, and you sort of watch it at that level and you go, it looks good because the colours are really vibrant, but everything else looks crap. That becomes a real problem. Especially, I think that one of the bits that stood out to me as a special effect that really falls short is when Penguin evaporates his henchmen, and he does them one at a time, and it's clear they've sort of like been almost like stuck onto the film, like they're just sort of there, and it looks like awful. And I was like, oh, even in the 60s there must have been a better way of doing this. Like it can't be this bad.
I would say one of the funny things is the special effects. Some of them are obviously terrible because it's the 60s, but one thing I was surprised about was how good the fight scenes were. Not like by today's standard, but like I'm pretty certain it's when Batman sort of goes mental in the hideout and he starts fighting everyone, he's yelling at them and stuff, and the camera only cuts like twice in like 5 minutes, so you're watching him, like the camera's following him like bouncing around the room, and you're like, that actually would have taken a lot of effort. And like I love, you know, the MCU movies and the DCEU, but a lot of the time when they fight scenes now, it's the fist goes near the face, cut, the fist hits the face, cut, and it's just like 20 cuts over like a minute or so, whereas this they just like, let's just have him kind of bounce off loads of people without cutting it. And I really like that, but I was surprised how good that was. Well,
it's one of those things that, like, you and I are watching and going, this looks pretty good. Like, you know, they're holding the shot. But what it is there's someone somewhere with a budget going, every time you film a scene, that costs me this much money. Film it all once, and we've saved this much money in the budget. That's all it'll be. And But no, I agree. And I think there's, we're going back to the Joker, like, because weirdly, like, I really like the Cesar Romero Joker because he's silly and like his jokes aren't funny. Like, he's not funny, but I always feel like, and I felt this with all the Jokers, like even with the Cesar Romero Joker, there's almost like a sinisterness to him. Like, yeah, you're daft and you're stupid, but I always get the feeling, maybe it's just like, you know the Joker, like, you always feel like he's one joke away from slitting the Penguin's throat. Like, I'm always like, of all the four of them right now, you're the one I trust the least. Like, you know.
To be fair, out of all of those villains, he was probably my favourite out of the four from Batman 66.
Yeah, I'd say, I mean, I think the Joker was surprisingly good. Like, I'd probably go so far to say I like him more than the Jared Leto Joker, because you've seen Suicide Squad as well, haven't you? Because I showed you that before we saw Birds of Prey. Which you loved Birds of Prey, but you watched Suicide Squad, and I was like, just to warn you, Megan, this is not amazing. I like it, but I do not love it. It's very, very flawed. But I was like, Jared Leto's Joker, not even his performance, the script it's just a terrible interpretation of the Joker. It was like, it's just a gangster. Why'd you even call him Joker? But and the weird purring stuff he kept doing. I think Cesar Romero. Romero. Cesar Millar, that's the dog whisperer. I mean, it wouldn't be too bad seeing him as a Joker, to be fair. But I think he did a really good job, and I think obviously this film is nearing 70 years old. It's near 60 years old, 66, isn't it? So
nearly 60.
And it's like, to be fair, as cheesy and camp as a lot of it is, some of the stuff they do I really like. So there's another bit which is like certain explosions, they've got the cartoon outline. I actually really liked that effect.
Oh yeah, I liked it.
I thought that it was one of those things where you can see you don't have the budget, so you did what you could, but it really works with the sort of, the cartoon. Obviously, it's from a comic, isn't it? When did the Batman comics sort of start, out of interest?
The original?
Yeah.
So Batman appears in Detective Comics 27 in 1939. And the thing is, so this is a line. So Batman originally, Batman in his first appearance, Batman kills someone by breaking their neck and then lets someone fall into a vat of chemicals. Which we'll get into in the next film. But so Batman started as like a proper grim and gritty vigilante, like, closer to probably like Daredevil and the Punisher. And then over time they sort of aligned him with like Superman and a bit more of a
do-gooder.
Yeah, a bit more of a do-gooder. But then obviously following, I'm going to go into all kinds of details. But in the 50s there was a thing called the Comics Book Code, came out of this thing of Frank Wortham, this Dr. Wortham, basically said that all comics are the root of all juvenile delinquency and crime and all this other stuff. So they create the comics book code. So from the second half of the 50s into the 60s, there's all these rules like the police can't be shown as committing acts of violence, and they can't have you can't have violence against the police. You can't show this, can't show that kind of stuff. And so all these superheroes like, well, we can't do what we were doing before, so we've got to go in this direction. And Batman 66 is a real representation of what Batman had become, like in the comics. He wasn't the Dark Knight, he was the Light Knight. He was in the 50s, he was deputized by the police to become, as he says in the film, a fully deputized member of the Gotham Police Department.
Yeah, because then there's also that weird comment that Robin makes where he's just like, listen to the police. Yeah. That's our motto.
Support the police.
Yeah. That's our message. In this day and age, it does feel a little bit like, oof, no, probably doesn't play well at the moment.
That's what cracked me up when we were watching it, because I posted on Twitter a couple of tweets saying now watching Batman 66. And I just put Robin. It was just quoting him like that doesn't age well.
Yeah. But the thing is, again, like this does show the police to be almost incompetent because they don't do anything. Like the moment someone sneezes, they're like, "Get the bat phone,"
That's what I said when we were watching one of the other ones.
Oh, that was, I think, Batman Return. It was either Batman Returns or the other Batman.
Yeah, they just automatically go to Batman when there's a problem.
Well, that's Commissioner Gordon.
Why don't you try and solve the problem first?
So
I will get to that because I agree. Like the Commissioner Gordon in the Burton verse, like he is useless.
Yeah.
Literally, someone breaks the law and they're like, "Look, bat sign, get the bat sign." I'm not dealing with it. No chance. Yeah, but it is this weird sort of, because he is a goody-goody, and I like the fact as well that like Adam West is sort of so goody-goody. So he's like the straight face of everything. Like everyone else is like having this crazy time, and Adam West is like playing it so straight.
Yeah, he has the coolest voice though. That was one thing, because I said to my brother Rob about my brother Rob, he's like 17 years older than me. So a lot of the reasons I've seen a lot of like films like Aliens and Terminator and Predator and stuff, he got me into them. And when I said to him about Batman 66, he was like, that film's hilarious, but the best part is just Adam West's epic voice.
Yes.
And he's so well pronounced and so specific, and he speaks so well, even in like these situations where he's angry, he still has this full, long, really proper sounding sentence before he does anything. And it's just so prim and proper in a really weird way.
Well, it's one of those things as well that, like, in some of the other films, like they try to do to separate them. I mean, you've talked about the Dark Knight, like the Christian Bale voice. Everyone knows that silliness. But in this, like Adam West as Bruce Wayne and Batman, like it's a bit like that thing with like Superman wearing his glasses. Like with the Adam West Batman, like as soon as he talks, you'd be like, I know you. Like, you sound exactly the same. Like it's not, and same with like Robin. Robin sounds the same no matter what. So
yeah, and also Robin is just like he's this quite short man, which obviously isn't a problem or anything, but like he's a short, almost man boy, and it's called Robin the Boy Wonder. And you look at it like you can easily tell by everything looking at him. But one thing you notice of Robin,
yeah, I mean, I was gonna say that,
dropping you right in it.
It makes me seem like a perv, but I'm not. I'd like to clarify, but. Robin's nether regions were like padded. They were so padded, like he was basically flat, whereas like everybody else in the film, like Batman, had some sort of package, whereas Robin was completely like it was clearly padded so that it was exactly.
Basically Riddler, man. Like
oh, Robin. Robin with Robin I mean, I know that in certain comics and things, Robin can become like badass, and he becomes, in certain iterations, he becomes Nightwing, I think. And there are certain versions of Robin who is really, really cool. But obviously, all the film representations of Robin obviously Batman and Robin's considered one of the worst films ever made. And then Robin in this, he doesn't do anything of use, except he always knows every answer to every riddle, which makes no sense at all.
Oh, the riddles are so stupid.
I love the riddles. The riddles were one of my favourite. You say about laughing, like I love the fact that, because you're right, the riddles are stupid. Like they make no sense. Yet Robin's like, I know the answer, and it's like it's so tangential. And then they put the riddles together to come up with some other answer, and you get Commissioner Gordon going, It's so obvious when you say it.
Yeah, it's like, what's yellow? What do you write with that's yellow? And it's like a banana ballpoint pen.
Yeah, and then the other one was like, oh, it's a squirrel with a machine gun or something. Sparrow with a machine gun.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, obviously.
And the rockets fly to the sky and do all that writing, and you're thinking, how long was that rocket up there for?
Yeah.
Like all this perfectly written skywriting. Is that more? It's so good in so many silly ways. I really enjoyed it.
It is, and that's the thing. Like when you sort of go through this, and like I say, going back to, I was like, I've forgotten how daft this is. And, we said about the Joker. We'll talk about some of the other villains. The problem I have with the villains is, like you say, you got a mustachioed Joker. Like, although he is good fun, but you've got Burgess Meredith playing the Penguin, and the problem is, I was introduced to him even before this. I was introduced to him as Mickey from Rocky, so he's Rocky's trainer. So I'm watching this going in 10 years' time.
Oh, I thought I recognised him.
Yeah, exactly. So in 10 years' time, you're going to be like, you're going to eat lightning and crap thunder, and I'm like, can't. You are Mickey. So, and then like you say, you got Gershie, I forget his name now, but I'll write it down. But the guy who plays the Riddler,
I thought he was awful.
Did you not like him?
I thought he was probably the worst.
Oh no, Catwoman was. I couldn't.
No, that's a good point.
Catwoman.
I wrote down. She said perfect 6 times.
It was her voice. Perfect.
And about being the world's greatest detective and not realizing that even as Catwoman, she barely even wears any disguise. It's like that tiny little face mask.
The only difference was that she had a Russian accent at one point,
really
and then
bad
another
Russian
point.
accent.
A Russian accent. Otherwise, it was pretty obvious who it was.
Yeah.
But it was the Riddler's outfit that made me laugh, because when he was the Riddler, he was wearing some like crappy.
He looks like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
Yeah, he looked a bit like a crappy Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. But when he wasn't dressed as the Riddler, he was wearing this like swanky suit
with like all the question marks on it, and he looks like I was like, when he wore the lycra and stuff, and when he was in the submarine, I was like, okay, you can see his really unpleasant bulge. It's all one color except his pink pants and his stupid pink eye mask. I was like, he looks awful. And then he changed,
he's wearing this really cool
and he's wearing this, and I was like, that waistcoat is amazing, and he looks so cool. And then it's like, whenever he fights you, he wears this really weird lycra, and I'm like, go back to the waistcoat. He looks so much cooler.
It's
than
not lycra though, is it?
Like a really
it's like he's wearing
quality.
like a rubbish nappy.
What's weird is in the TV show, like the lycra, the all-in-one. That's like what he wears in like the first season. And then there must have been someone on set. I reckon they had a similar conversation, because the suit starts to make a lot of appearances in the second season, where he's like, I'm not wearing this anymore. This is stupid. There's a wonderful suit here that I look good in. I'm wearing that.
Have you seen all 4 of the seasons?
I have them all on Blu-ray, yes.
Are they... I can't say I'd probably ever watch all of them, because I think Batman 66...
Yeah, don't. It's a hard slog. It's...
I'm glad you didn't make us watch all them for the retrospective. That would have been. Is it kind of like the Monty Python thing, which is the first season is like gold almost, and the second season's good but got flaws, and then third is like oof, and then 4 is just unwatchable.
It's the first 2 seasons are really good. Like there's some really good stuff in there, like how absurd and how ridiculous it is, and it does get very. It becomes a little bit pun centric.
Oof.
That's the problem. Like everything's got to be punish towards the end, and it gets really bad. There are villains in the 66 series that's never appeared anywhere else. They have, as well as the 4 that you've seen. They bring in a Dr. Freeze, so he's in there. But also you've got King Tut, a guy who is obsessed with being King Tut.
So the Pharaoh. So he hasn't got the really lame eye makeup on, has he? And like, oh god.
And Grant Morrison, the writer Grant Morrison, brought him into comic book canon, and actually he appears in briefly. He appears in Arkham Asylum, the graphic novel, and stuff.
Oh really?
Yeah, as Maxie Zeus, and then there's another one which is my favourite. Because I'm a big fan of Vincent Price, the horror actor.
He's another. Is it horror? The old Hammer horror films and stuff. A lot of those things.
American ones, IPC and stuff, and he did like all these other films I really love. And he appears in it as a character called Egghead.
Is he just someone who's really smart, who's like bold?
No, he's got a head shaped like an egg.
That's literally, yeah.
Literally an egghead, and then all of his villainy is egg pun related.
Oh God,
that sounds amazing.
It's awful. Yeah, it's awful. But as you say, I love Vincent Price. This is terrible. I'm loving everything about it. If you do go away and check it out on YouTube, just go and check out Batman 66 King Tut and Batman 66 Egghead, because it's almost like you'll watch it and you'll be like, well, thank God they weren't in the film.
I am definitely writing that down. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, I was going to say this. So some of the things about this, the plot itself, the attack on like the World Council, and what were your thoughts on it as a sort of as a silly sort of comic book plot?
I feel like it's an unreasonable amount of money. Like, it's a crazy amount of money that they're asking for.
Especially in the 60s as well.
What is it? $1 billion for each country.
From like the 9 heads.
Like, what would you even do with that amount of money?
It's in cash as well. I was delivered by carrier pigeon.
Yeah, delivered by carrier pigeons. Like, it's so ridiculous.
It was almost like the Penguin was just like, or the Penguin and Catwoman, like, let's make our demands. And then the actors just were never told to stop talking. So it's like $1 billion from every country, in cash, delivered by carrier pigeon. So what next is going to happen? Why all these things?
Someone's going to go and cut. Right, we've got it.
We got it. Perfect. Yay.
Yeah, I agree. I do love how ludicrous it is, because one of the things that I find most freezing in watching this, it made me think of Austin Powers, and all I could think of was like. And people thought that Dr. Evil was crazy. Like, no, this is like, these are even more ludicrous than Dr. Evil. So,
yeah, I mean, I think that the general idea of kidnapping the world leaders, the disintegration ray, or the dehydration ray, and then rehydration stuff, that was, I mean, it's cheesy, lame, and ridiculous, but it does to some vagueness make sense. It's basically just a really convoluted way of let's kidnap the world leaders and hold them ransom. That one core element, that makes sense. That is quite a standard thing that happens in loads of films even today. But it's all the flavor text around it that's the weirdness. So, as I said, that the carrier pigeon, and so the really random ways they go about doing so many things. And it's just, I loved it as well when they're in the I think Batman, he gets captured, and then Catwoman, he's saying, but you better not hurt whatever Catwoman's real name is, the 5 or 6 word Russian name, which is just so long and unnecessary. It's just, let's think of 7 or 8 Russian words and we'll just get her to say them.
Well, her first name is Kitty. So there's even a Catwoman in there. And you see, like, he's not the world's greatest detective. He's just a bit of a pillock.
And I just think he was like, oh, if you hurt her, and they're like, wait a minute. And then there's that comedic part where, like, they will kind of stall him a little bit. And then the Catwoman runs into basically the back room, gets changed, becomes in air quotes, the Russian version of herself again, talks to him normally. And then I think he leaves the room, and then she somehow manages to get back to the main room with all the villains in full cat gear again, and you're like, that's almost more impressive than the actual plot they're trying to think. Is her amazing ability. That reminds me, one of my favorite bits actually is the button that changes the outfit when he goes in the Batcave.
Oh yeah, Mike really likes that bit.
Absolutely. And when we watched Batman 89, when he first went to the Batcave, I even said to Megan, I was like,
Mike
come
was
on.
like, oh my God, there's going to be a button.
Please, I would literally, I know it doesn't fit with a lot of the film, but I was like, please, if there's a button that Michael Keaton can press to just click and it does instant Batman costume change, that would have made my day. It cracked me up, that button. It's like, it's tongue-in-cheek it's almost like tongue-in-cheek parody, almost before tongue-in-cheek parody was really a thing. So in certain ways, obviously, so many of the jokes are way too far in that direction. But I do find that works really well. But the main sort of plot, as you say, with the dehydration, rehydration nonsense, is like, I don't even know why they didn't just kidnap the people normally. Why they had to faff about with the dehydration thing? It's so convoluted.
They've already kidnapped one person in order to get the evaporation gun. So, well, if you've kidnapped them, why not just kidnap these other people? It is a bit bizarre. It's like the plot is secondary to all the nonsense, isn't it? That's the thing. I mean, it's all set up for jokes and stuff. Like, one of my favourite bits, and I think it's quite famous, is Batman trying to get rid of the bomb.
Oh my God!
I love that bit. She hated it.
Was just thinking about the bomb, and it just took so long. It's like when he was just running and then suddenly there were ducks. He was like, well, I can't throw it in here because there are ducks. And then he was like, oh, I'm going to go run over here. It's like, oh, there are two people making out. I can't throw it down here. And it's
like
just
a
like,
baby
just throw
crab.
the bomb. It's like the fact that you are still alive is a miracle.
It's the longest fuse.
It's like
in
you're
the
supposed
history
to
of
be the
mankind.
best detective. How you're alive, I honestly don't know.
But it's the fact it's like the fourth wall breaking, which never happens before or after. And he's like, some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
So I remember that bit. That's the main bit I remember from my childhood. I remember when we watched it, and Megan was like, "What do you remember about this?" And I was like, "It's cheesy. The effects quite bad. I think there's puns." I was like, "I think Robin's quite annoying." And there's a really awesome bomb bit where it looks. It's like the bomb looks better than I remember it looking, because I think I must remember one of the series or something. But I remember there being, it was either a rock or a bomb, and it was paper mache. And I might be thinking of Star Trek when there's that Star Trek where he picks up the rock, and it's like so light that's the sort of thing that I kind of remembered. But yeah, how long he has that fuse going and just running backwards and forwards, I love that. But Megan, every time it cuts, she's like, "Oh, he's going to throw the bomb away," and every time
I found it funny to start with, and then it just carried on and on and on.
I feel like it goes down. It's like really funny, and then it becomes less funny, but it goes on for so long. It becomes
gives
funny
you
again.
a second win of hilarity.
I think one of the biggest issues with this film is it was written by the guys that did the TV show. And so when you watch the TV show, each episode is like 22 minutes. And so, like, you know, all these gags probably are quite, you know, they're quite punchy. They're like, we'll just go, we've got 22 minutes, go, 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 go. And now they're like, you've got over 100. And they're like, really?
I'm going to use them all on one joke.
I've got this, there was this joke I've been trying to do in 3 episodes. Now I can put it in the movie. Yeah, it definitely has that feel. There are moments of padding in it, most definitely. But it's still, yeah. It's one final point I was going to ask. Really, is the World Council. Now, this was obviously made in the '60s, so you take it in the vein of its era. I wasn't sure watching, but you know, with the sort of like the national stereotypes sat around the table, I was a bit like, I'm not sure if this plays well anymore, or if it can be taken as a joke. I was a bit like, it feels a little uncomfortable in some cases.
Yeah, I think it's worse when they swap at the end, because normally when you see like an Asian man with a really stereotypically Asian accent or anything, that's like, oh, that's a bit ooh. But then when you see a white person doing the stereotypically and it's that for all of them. You've got like the Russian guy and the German guy, and it's just like, you're like, oh, this is. And then Batman and Robin just are like, let's get out of here, like inconspicuously, and they just really slowly walk to the window.
Yeah,
it was Megan. That was the one time where I was like, this is going on for a little bit. Like, it's literally around the room, all of them. And then I love the fact that Batman and Robin are like, close enough.
Yeah, I think they definitely wouldn't be able to do it now.
Yeah, it did feel a little bit. I was like, oh, I'm not sure if, you know, coming into this fresh, you'd be a bit like, no, that doesn't work at all.
I think one of the other things, because I've got a couple of notes here of just silliness and things. I've got the note about the Riddler, and then there was that bit that you mentioned, wasn't it, Megan?
As if you think I can read your tiny little handwriting.
Okay.
There, Mike.
Megan pointed out that Catwoman sounds like. Do you remember what you said?
No.
The Count from Sesame Street.
Oh, yeah. She sounds like Count.
I remember she said that. That cracked me up more than her actual accent, as well as her saying, you know, perfect 6 times in a really annoying way. And then I wrote holy, and then did a little star. And then I've got a little star, and I've written holy marathon, holy heart failure, holy bikini, holy Captain Nemo.
Yeah.
And it's just almost basically the only dialogue Robin has is holy something, answering a riddle, or being basically exposition man. Just like, oh, you can plainly see this thing is happening. Well, let's have Robin just basically read out almost the script stage directions of what's happening in addition to everything else, just in case you didn't quite get it.
Yeah, I agree with that. One of the things that's going to carry on throughout this series, and I will keep, in fact, there's 2 things that I'm going to keep going back to, but the first one I'm going to mention is what contractors and engineers get the job of fitting out some of the equipment in this? Like, I get Batman does his own thing, right? So he's built his Batmobile and whatever. Who fitted out Penguin's submarine? Like, who was like?
So there's when we get on to the third one,
yeah,
I have so many issues with the Penguin and the whole Penguin setup.
Oh, she was going off on one.
Going off on a rant about the Penguin.
We'll give you the floor when it gets to the
No,
third one.
I'm happy to hear it because I was watching it last night and I was thinking like, because I love the Burton films, but I think a big part of it is nostalgia. But it is one of those films when you watch it and I'm like, I'm not sure this really works.
Yeah, I mean, I think with a lot of, like with Batman 66, when everything is so silly and ridiculous, when you've got all these things that make no sense, you're like, nothing makes sense, it's okay. Yeah. But when you get into the Burton films, it's like these are trying to be a lot more gritty. They've got their little silly moments, but there are certain points and you're just a bit like, hang on a minute. What?
There's just loads of inventions that you're like, I don't understand this invention. Why are you obsessed with umbrellas? Why is it so weird? Like, why have you got a submarine in the ocean that is a penguin?
Yeah, that umbrella thing is bizarre because it's sort of like it's one of those, those tangential things that seems to have just stuck with a character. So with the penguin, it's sort of like, he's got the hook nose and he walks a bit funny, and so to make him look like a penguin, they put him in like a tuxedo, like a tailored suit.
Yeah.
And so when they drew him, they were like, oh, he needs something to be a bit extra. So they gave him an umbrella. And it just seems to have stuck. And more than that, it has grown into something bizarre. But
yeah, because I was going to say as well, one thing I forgot to say is that I really early on is that I've seen most of the series of Gotham. So I watched, which I thought was really good. It's just that I have a bugbear with a lot of American series. Mainly, one of the reasons I didn't embark on any of the Arrowverse stuff was like, right, here's a series. Okay, let's have 24 episodes. They're all 50 minutes long. So that's like, well, if you said it was 45 minutes long, that's 18 hours per season. Whereas you click to like an English TV show, like Sherlock, for example, 3 episodes, they're an hour and a half, granted, but or like Peaky Blinders, 6 episodes, 45 minutes. That's fine. If it's under 13, 10 is kind of pushing it a bit, but 13 is almost as far as it will go. But some of these American ones are so long, and that's why I kind of stopped in Gotham. But obviously Megan was asking me questions while watching the 3 Batman films, and one of the things she said was like, why has Penguin got an umbrella? And I was like, I think they kind of wanted him to look sort of vaguely rich or regal, but he's also got a limp, so maybe it helps him. But there's not any specific reason. He's just kind of always had one.
He's just got loads of gadgets. Like, wasn't there a bit in Batman 66 where they're essentially flying like they're broomsticks in the air? Like, are they umbrellas as well?
It's big umbrellas. They're flying.
Yeah, but this is what I mean. I was like, why are there so many umbrellas? I don't understand.
And all different colours. They're like those like red.
And that's when Robin was like, "Holy Halloween!" I was like, what?
If you watch the rest of this, and this is no excuse or even no justification, but if you watch the rest of the 66 series, like, if you think that's bad, every episode ended like, if you think Batman and Robin are useless in this, watch the show, because every episode was a 2-parter, right? And that was it, because it was shown twice a week. It was shown sort of start the week, end of the week. So there were 2-parters, and every one ended with Batman and Robin in peril. And they were always caught in some ridiculous sort of like, booby trap or some sort of like, it was a, I don't know, they're about to have a big hammer dropped on them or something ridiculous. And the Penguin ones were always either fish related or umbrella related or something like that. And then they would get out of them in some ridiculous way. I mean, I don't know if you've ever heard this sort of like, it doesn't really happen in the film, but there was a voiceover in the TV show as well. And this voiceover would come over and say, see you next time, same bat time, same bat channel. And you'd be like, as a kid, you'd be like, oh my God, I've got to see what happens to them. Like every week they'd get out of it. And you'd be like, all right, okay, that's...
One last thing with Batman 66 I recall as well is with the Penguin having the sort of cigarette thing sticking out of his mouth, there was half the time when me and Megan were like, what the hell is he even saying? Because he's putting on this weird accent. And he does that weird, awful
he was doing
laugh.
that penguin.
And he's also got a cigarette coming out of his mouth. And he's trying to understand what you're saying with this weird accent. Half half the stuff he's saying are puns as well, and he's got a thing sticking out of his mouth. So it's like, I'm sorry, what was that? Is that anything relevant? Or you just
a wide array of accents in that film.
You're right, and I think keep in mind 66 throughout the Burton verse and the Schumacher years as well, because it will come back to haunt us, I guarantee it. In fact, it does pretty much straight away. Because if we do jump forward, we go to Batman 89, and 20 years later, and Batman's come through, and in the comic universe, he's come through all that stuff, the Silver Age, and we've had a resurgence. He's been sort of re-machoed up in the 70s, and you've had books like The Dark Knight Returns that have really made him. They've gone back to this sort of revisionist version of Batman, where he's grim and gritty, and he's beating the crap out of people and doing all this other stuff. And so when Batman 89's announced, like everyone's like, "Oh my god!" It was a huge deal. And they never did a trailer for this film. They never did a proper trailer. They literally just dropped, I think so, just over a minute or maybe around a minute of footage on a TV show. And that was it. That was all they did. They just dropped out a minute of footage, and it showed like the Batmobile, Jack Nicholson as the Joker, and Michael Keaton as Batman. And that was it. And there was a sort of like, everyone was just, and then there was the bat symbol, the sort of the gold and the black bat symbol, and then the fact that Prince had done the music, and everyone and that was it. And people were either just sold on it, but everyone was complaining that Michael Keaton was Batman, was going to be Bruce Wayne, because he's not the tallest chap. Things like he's not short, but he's noticeably shorter than Jack Nicholson, which is odd. But also he was known as a comedy actor. He'd done like Mr. Mom, and he'd obviously done Beetlejuice, which is a Tim Burton film, all sort of stuff. So when people were very excited for it, but when it came out, there was a little bit of like, oh my god, it could be awful. But it blew up. Like, it was one of the most successful films of '89. But go on, let's just your first thoughts. You've gone from 66 and you've gone to 89. 20-year difference. This is the 80s. You're coming out of Reagan era, 80s. What are your initial thoughts on Batman 89?
Well, I will say one thing, kind of linking with the Beetlejuice thing, is that up until recently, me and Megan, neither of us had actually seen Beetlejuice. I've seen a few Tim Burton films, but I know. Well, I've for Halloween, we did that this week of Halloween. We watched loads of. It was mainly films Megan hadn't seen, because I'd seen quite a lot of them. We watched a few, and Beetlejuice was one of those films where we were both like, we've both heard Beetlejuice is amazing. I love Sleepy Hollow, and I showed Megan Sleepy Hollow, and so we were like, let's watch Beetlejuice. Maybe be really good. Yeah.
I hated it so much.
I genuinely couldn't stand it.
I absolutely hated it.
He is so rapey in it.
He is super rapey.
But he is the baddie. Let's be honest. Like, he is the villain.
Well, that's it. But it was one of those things where almost, funnily enough, of Beetlejuice, it had almost all the annoying parts of Batman 66, but as in everything went on for so long. I know this isn't a Beetlejuice podcast, but obviously it was just, there's that scene where they make everyone dance, and it just goes on forever. And you're just like, and me and Megan, we hadn't seen Beetlejuice, obviously, so we didn't really know what to expect. I was like, oh, it's a Tim Burton film. It's a kind of a Halloween film. It's probably going to be like Sleepy Hollow, which is quite dark with comedy sprinkled in, when it was kind of the other way around. So linking in with that is that Michael Keaton, I was saying when we watched Batman, I was like, I know Michael Keaton as a villain because I've not actually seen him in that many things, but the most recent thing is Spider-Man Homecoming. So obviously, and he's got that sort of, now that he's getting older and he's quite serious now, he does have that sort of more villainous kind of persona as he's gotten older. So seeing him as Batman, it was like, oh, this is weird seeing him like that. But I did like him as Batman.
I liked him as Batman.
I do
like his lips.
No, he was all pouty.
Yeah.
when he was driving the Batmobile, he was like pouting constantly. I was like, why is he pouting so much?
Megan, to be fair, if I was driving that car, I'd be pouting.
I will say that the only thing I'd say is probably better about Batman 66 than the Burtonverse Batman films is I genuinely prefer the Batmobile from 66 to the Burton one. I like the Burton Batmobile. I think it is cool, but it just doesn't 100% land for me in that regard. But I mean, I thought the film was good. I can see, when I was watching it, I can really see why it became such a hit, because prior to that, it's weird seeing it through a lens of us, especially because where I'd seen Dark Knight is where I fell in love with Batman, which is the darkest and the grittiest and
I
stuff.
mean, for me, that's what I associate as Batman, because that's the only thing that I've really seen, and I love that film. I love Heath Ledger as the Joker. Like, it's so good. So like seeing different people as Batman, I'm just like, you're not Batman. Like,
it's a bit like with James Bond, isn't it? Like, if you were introduced to James Bond as Daniel Craig, and then you go back and watch Roger Moore, you're a bit like, oh no.
So yeah, like when I think of like James Bond, I think of Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
But my mum would think of Sean Connery.
Mm.
So it's just
to me, Michael Keaton is my Batman for this and the next film. But I really like Jack Nicholson as the Joker.
Yeah,
yes,
same.
He's brilliant.
It's that thing of when you watch this film, and I have realised it over years. When you're a kid and you watch this, and you go, it's dark and it's emo and it's got all this and it's got the Joker kills people and he's all violent, and you think it's cool. I mean, even Batman kills people in this film. Like, there's no disputing that when he blows up that Acme chemical plant, like, no, he's killed a bunch of people.
Well, he also just let what was it? His name's Jack, isn't it? Because it was Jack Nicholson playing Jack
or something.
And he just like lets him fall into a massive vat of chemicals, and you're like, all right, Batman. Okay then.
There's always been that debate because he's holding him, and he obviously knows it's Jack Napier that killed his parents and stuff. And you're a bit like, does he drop him? Does he?
Yeah. You're looking at it, you're like,
surprised.
So that was pretty strong. He should be able to probably lift him up.
Yeah.
But I think one of the best, I think with these, if we stick with 89, I think one of the best things about it is the look. I think, especially like when we watched it, because we saw it and you were like, is Jack Nicholson the Joker? And because you could kind of remember, but you weren't 100%.
Well, I'd never seen it before. I could tell he was the Joker, and like literally like, I think it was like 10 seconds after I asked the question, he then was playing with like a deck of cards, and then a card, and I was like, okay, yeah, he is. But he was wearing like that kind of suit, like, so I was like, oh, he looks like the Joker. He's wearing a purple suit. And also, like I said to you while we were watching the film, I was like, this is like a really good role for Jack Nicholson, because also he's just nuts in real life as well. So like it's a good like role for him to have played.
I think of the Batman films, I'd say excluding the Dark Knight trilogy, because I think Dark Knight as a film itself is probably one of the greatest films ever made ever, which is a little bit of foreshadowing for the future ones. But it as a film itself, with the only real fault I'd say I have, true fault really, is that there's just bits in the two Burton films where it feels like they could have been a bit shaved off, which is probably going to offend a few people, but there's certain scenes we were watching, and
did feel quite long.
Kind of feels like it's going to end, and then it kind of doesn't, and it's got this. It's almost like it's got a fourth act. It's got like almost 3 acts, and then you've got this weird on both of them. You've got this weird sort of 10-minute-ish part where it's just setting up the final scene, and you're at that bit, and it's like, it's dragging a little bit now. But
to be fair, that's almost like a fault of Burton. I find like with Burton, Burton has that sort of thing. Like you do see it in Beetlejuice. I admit there's like it all runs, and they're sort of like he's never great with finales. And I think it comes down to like Burton, and he's even said this, clearly has an affinity for the monsters, like for the villains.
Yes.
So when it comes to finishing them off, he's a bit like, oh, I don't want to. I want to do something else. Because although this is Batman, like, it's clearly Jack Nicholson's film.
Yes.
Like, it's clearly like they're going like, no, we're telling the Jack Napier's story, and he's the one clearly having all the fun.
Yeah, Batman's just kind of like pouting along, like
he's pouting along with the love interest whose name I forget, the journalist.
Vicky Vale. Yeah.
Why is her scream so piercing, and why does she scream so much? It's like a really like horrendous scream. It's like it's
ear piercing. Isn't it?
It's awful. It's like,
she's an interesting add-on, and this is where I think this is going to be what I'm going to introduce the second thing I've got with this series. So we've said like who's building this stuff for them, because the Joker has like cars with the Joker symbol on, like in his helicopter's got a big circle with his face on. Like, does he just turn up to a print shop and he's like, I want 10 of these? Like,
he's got the cars that are all like purple, hasn't he? He's got the purple topped cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you're not supposed to ask these questions of films because they look ace, but it is a bit like someone's painted them and done those up for you. Like,
That was one of the things you asked about, wasn't it? You were like, "What? How's Joker got all these resources?" And I was like, I think it's because he's basically blackmailing the crime bosses, and he's just kind of got their resources. But the timings in the film, it only feels like everything happens within about 2 days.
Oh yeah, it happens really quickly.
But to make everything happen, it must have taken weeks and weeks. But one thing I would ask you as well, Scott, is because it's not clear in the film, is there ever explained anywhere, in maybe a tie-in comic or anything, of like when in the Burtonverse Batman became Batman? Because the film starts like they're like, oh, there's been 5 or 6 sightings of the Bat, and I looked it up, and Michael Keaton at the time is about 38 or when it was released, so he's mid to late 30s, and he looks good for his age, to be fair. But obviously, with a pinch of salt, you could probably say Batman's maybe 30 or so. But from what I recall with other iterations of Batman, it's his early 20s, isn't it? He normally kind of...
Yeah, it's sort of supposed to be sort of... He becomes Batman in, like, say, 25, really, is usually when it's sort of usually depicted. No, this is a slightly older Batman. I think this guy he had sort of like a gap year of doing nothing. He sort of pulled it all together, and so no, he's not supposed to have been around for that long. I think this is supposed to be like year 1, technically.
Oh yes,
you know, this is sort of like in the first 6 months, because the stories are coming out and people are starting to hear rumors about it, but there's no been, you know, like the police have said they've got a file on him, but it's not like, you know, he's an established vigilante within the city.
Well, no, because the only person that really believes in him is the other journalist.
I hate him so much.
The guy, Knox. Yeah.
Oh God, I hate. I remember
Mike really hated him.
I couldn't. He grated on me in all the wrong ways. I tell you what, that is. If he wasn't in the film at all, I would have thought. I did enjoy 89. It is a really, really good film. But genuinely, every time he opened his mouth, I just wanted him to die. I was like, I'm pretty certain he's not in the other Batman films. Not the actor. The actual character. I was like, I don't remember him being in Batman Returns, and they don't really change the cast around that much until, you know, after Batman Returns, they keep swapping out Batmans and things. But I was like, I'm pretty certain I don't remember him in it. I was like, I really hope he dies. That would satisfy me. But he doesn't. He's really weird and creepy in the wrong ways, and very pushy with Vicky Vale. But also, he keeps trying to make all these jokes that are not only not funny, but they don't land. It just makes me think of that guy at a party who's desperately trying so hard to be funny and appealing to women that the desperation, you can kind of
you can smell
taste it. Yeah. Oof.
That's, to be fair, that's almost how I've always taken him. So I just always assumed that was it. That's what he's supposed to be. Like, yeah, he always sort of loses out to everybody else.
He's a bit of a Slimer.
See, Mike thought he was slimy, and I was like, oh, he's just being nice. No. He's just being nice.
Every time he said anything to Vicky Vale, it's like, there was that bit, wasn't it, where she wasn't feeling well or something, and he was like, do you want me to come over? And she's like, that's nice. I was like, he just wants to go over there and dick her. He's not being nice.
He's just being a nice friend.
So you naive woman.
Let's forget Knox, because he is the worst part of this film. He irritates the crap out of me as well. But I mean, let's go back to Jack Nicholson as the Joker, because we've talked about Cesar Romero and his moustache. But did you find Jack Nicholson? You said, like, you know, because Jack Nicholson's nuts. But do you find this Joker sinister or scary in any way?
He has like an eerie sense to him, because obviously, like, he's kind of got that crazy lunatic side, because he'll just randomly start like cracking up at nothing. Like, whereas in the first one, like the 66 one, he obviously would like make a joke, and I use joke in air quotes because it wasn't ever funny, but like he makes a joke and then would laugh at that, whereas like the Jack Nicholson version would like just start cracking up for absolutely no reason, and it just seems incredibly sinister. You're like, why are you laughing? Because something's going to happen.
And obviously the big thing with the Jack Nicholson Joker is the makeup. I think the smile thing, and I remember watching it, and I was like, because I was remembering things as I was watching, because I said I haven't watched the Burtonverse films in so long I could barely remember them, but I was like, so I'm pretty sure I remember the smile being really weird and freaky. And then it happened, and I was like, because I said to Megan, I was like, I think you said it was latex, wasn't it?
He's got the prosthetic, hasn't he? He's got the latex there that would have.
It's so, as you say, like Burton is so visual in a lot of ways, and the way he stylized Batman 89, it looks amazing, and there's so many cool shots in it. But Jack Nicholson's Joker he's in all the right ways. As Megan kind of said, it was like he's got this darkness to it, almost like as soon as he enters the room, there's this, I don't want to use the term aura because it makes it sound like I believe in crystals and things, but you know what I mean? Like that sort of that if he walks into a room, he's got this shadow to him, and Jack Nicholson plays it so well. And the whole time I was watching it, I was like, I'm pretty certain he dies at the end, but I couldn't really remember. And I was like, surely he's got to die, because if he didn't, surely they would bring this Joker back, because I'd say obviously Heath Ledger is, in my opinion, and most people's opinion, is the best, but almost everyone says the second best is Nicholson, and I'd agree with that. I mean, I'd say if Heath Ledger wasn't the Joker, I would say Jack Nicholson is, from what I can see, apart from other things, the epitome.
I think it's it's a nostalgia thing, because to me Jack Nicholson is the Joker, and Heath comes in a little bit after, not by much, but Heath Ledger's Joker is sort of secondary. But to me, it's that idea that, like, you don't ever know what... It's the same with Heath Ledger's Joker, but with Jack Nicholson, you're never entirely sure what mood he's going to be in. Like,
I also... Oh, sorry.
No, he just flips on a dime. Like, the two... there's the bit when... the two bits I always really think of is when he has the meeting with all the crime bosses. And, and the guy sort of says, he's taken over Jack Palance, the crime family. And the other guy's like, well, why have we got to follow you? What happens if I just leave? And he's like, well, we'll shake hands and we'll leave as friends.
Oh, God, yeah, that bit.
Yeah, and then electrocutes him to death. Like,
that was brutal.
And he's making all those jokes and dancing around him whilst he's sort of... And I'm like, as a kid, that really used to scare me, because like that creeped me out. And he's like laughing at the corpse and stuff. But then the other one later on is he's cutting out pictures. And Bob, his henchman Bob, comes in to tell him the story, and he finds this whole thing about things. He says, I've given a name to my pain, and that name is Batman. And then he shoots out the telly, and I'm like,
oh, he broke like 2 or 3 TVs. I was like, where is he getting all of these televisions from? Like, where are they coming from? The other thing that I really liked about him as well is that obviously with the 66 movie, there was the mustache hidden underneath, but like with this one, there were, because obviously from my little knowledge of the Joker and Batman and stuff, obviously he fell into the vat, and that has like essentially stained his skin, hasn't it?
Yes.
So like that's what his skin is meant to look like. But then there were bits where he was wearing normal makeup, like makeup to make him look like his skin was normal. And then there was a really cool bit where he dabbed his forehead, and then the white makeup came on, or well, the normal makeup came off, and then it looked like obviously the skin was underneath. And I was like, oh, that's cool.
That is a very good effect.
It's the same with when he meets Vicky Vale. My favourite scene of the whole film is the whole art museum.
I loved that bit.
Yeah.
I was saying, my dream, like as neurotic as the Joker is, I would love to go to an art museum and just graffiti all of it. That would just be so much fun.
Everything.
Oh, it must have been so good to film.
But you've got the music, and you've got them all dancing around, like all of his henchmen, and he's like, just go crazy. Like, I can imagine Tim Burton's like, just go fucking nuts. Do what you want. Like,
just follow Jack Nicholson's lead.
Yeah, exactly that. Follow Nicholson. And there's a great bit where one of them's about to knife a painting, and he stops it, and he's like, no, I like this one. And it's like you could never judge what he's gonna do. But as you said, the bit where he gets the water in his face, and when it washes off some of the skin color makeup, and he's got the white underneath, it just looks so good.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I think he's fantastic as Joker.
I loved it as well. Yeah, I think that it was almost. I was saying to Megan, is the problem is with the movies is that they kind of have to introduce the villain and then kill them again. And obviously that's what happens in the sequel as well. And I was like, it is such a shame, because they have to short track like everything, because obviously it's understandable, because when you want to make a 2-hour movie, unless you're going to do the ultimate cut of Batman vs Superman that's like 3 and a bit hours long, and you put so much stuff in it. If you don't do that, or you don't make it some sort of ridiculous series, you kind of do have to have a start and an end. And before they were making multiverses where, let's keep this villain alive so he can pop up in a tiny bit of another film and we'll tease him for ages, instead of doing that, they kind of had to have a start and the end. And I found that even though I had a suspicion, at the end you're like, is Joker actually gonna die? Like, because obviously he's known as like Batman's greatest nemesis, and even when he's dead at the end, Megan was saying, because you said out loud, you're like, is he actually dead? Like, I know he fell that far, but he was really far with that gargoyle, but it's like that look on his face, you're like, if a poof of smoke happens and his body disappeared, I wouldn't have been surprised, because you never know his game, even when he's fighting Batman up at the top. Like, you're like, did he did he know Batman was gonna? Because he's like slow dancing with Vicky Vale for a bit too long, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But it's like, was he planning on that? And that scene specifically, what I loved is once again the visual side is that bell falling.
Yeah.
I loved that bit. Oh, it was incredible.
I mean, that one of the things that's just reminding me of something I'll get to in a second. But you're right. I mean, this film looks amazing, and it's so sort of like purely Burton in that aesthetic. You know, Gotham is sort of like this massive noir Art Deco city. I mean, it's got like massive spires and statues and all sort of stuff. But one of the things I love is that in the opening scene, and you have the family with the and this is one of the clever things about this film that all the other films have lost and missed out on. Weirdly, is everyone moans about now whenever a Batman film comes up, you've got to see his parents killed. Like they've done it so many times. You know, you got to see the pearls fall and you got to see someone kill them, right? And you sort of see a little bit of it in this film, but they also play it the other way because they're assuming that everybody already knows that. So it starts with a well-to-do couple and a little kid going down an entry.
I was just like, when that bit happened, I was like, I know what's going to happen. I know that that's Batman, and I know that that's Batman's
She said
parents.
it out loud. You literally.
I said it out loud to Mike because whenever we watch a film that I've not seen before that Mike has, I like to vocalize my thoughts because then if I'm right, I can be like, hey, I was right. But I was just like, oh yeah, obviously this is Batman and obviously that's his parents and his parents are going to die. And then that's Batman's origin story. And then it didn't happen. And I was like, I am wrong.
This is the only Batman film it doesn't happen.
But you know what it does though? Because I love it, the fact that it does, because it did that as me the first time you see it. I'm like, oh, I know exactly what this is going to be. And it's not. But what's really weird about it is Batman watches it all take place and lets it happen.
Yeah,
that's what I said.
You see him up top watching it, and then he walks off, and you're like, "Wait a minute, this Batman's a bit of a prick."
He's just watching it happen, then he waits like 10 minutes or so until those seemingly crackheads are counting all the money, and you get that really cool thing when you. To be fair, when you get that Batman reveal where you see that the sort of wings and stuff, I mean, it is really cool. But I remember, I think I might have said to Megan, because when Megan said about the Batman, it's just the Batman thing, and I was like, I think it isn't. When Megan has these predictions, I don't like to shut her down because obviously you watch the film, you find out. But I was like, I don't think this is. I think you see Batman, but then you watch it happen. I was like, and I was second guessing myself because I was like, but Batman wouldn't just watch this happen, would he? And I was like, oh no, he did. Just so he could beat up a couple of crackheads afterwards.
Yeah. So it sort of sets the tone, and that's. But I do like that it has that tone because there's so many like matte paintings and animation in this. Like that moment you see Batman looking down and he turns around, is animation. Like that's not film. Animated. And there's some other bits. So the moment you see Joker falling is animated. Like that's it's all. So they use some really cool 80s effects and stuff in this film. I'm just so drawn in by the way it looks. But the one thing I was going to come back to was what we sort of said was like, do you think Batman's any good in this film?
Well, not hugely, if it honestly. I mean, I'm trying to think because it almost seems like he flukes his way through things quite a lot. Like, I think towards the end when he's in that sort of final showdown with Joker, he does the connection of he wraps his ankle to the gargoyle, and I remember watching that thinking, why doesn't the helicopter just fly over the spire? Then if Joker falls, he'd be fine. But he does seem to let things get to the 11th hour almost, like him and Vicky Vale are literally hanging off the edge for ages, and you're thinking, isn't Batman meant to be really, really strong? And
it just seems like there's sometimes he can get shot with a bullet, but then sometimes he can't just win a fight really easily. And I'm like, but you can literally get shot with a bullet, and that's okay.
That's it, and I agree because I think parts of this film are really cool, and I do like Keaton as Batman. But then there's some really like cool thought, like they've put thought into some things and then not others. So like there are amount of times he just seems to react to things all the time. Like he's never proactive. The only thing is that I do like is he does do some detective work in this. Like he figures out the combination of chemicals that cause the Smilex reaction. And the other thing I like in this film, which is it's like little things have been thought of. When he takes Vicky Vale in the Batmobile, and he takes her back to the Batcave, And that's all a bit rapey as well. But when he's taken her back and she's trying to look at him in the face, he switches on a light. So she's got like a light in her eyes so she can't see past it to see him. I'm like, that's a really cool idea. Someone's thought that up and come up with it. Yet there's other parts of the plot that you're thinking, I wish they'd put more thought into that rather than this thing about a light in the car.
Yeah. And there's two bits with the Batmobile that I loved about this one. Actually, I think one of the parts I was going to say is in the sequel, but I've got it written down where it was so cool was when the Batmobile was being chased by the Joker cars, and it goes around that corner, it shoots out I think a grapple hook, and it does that really tight turning.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
I was like, that is badass. I think it's in Batman Returns right at the start where the is on this pillar that comes down, and he just spins around on the spot. I was like, the gadgets of the Batmobile is so cool, and I liked the animation of it where because you now when you watch it you can really see that it's clearly how they've done it. They've almost done the screen wipe, but when it goes from the normal to like parked, when it's all got the armor plating on it, and you can basically see the screen wipe of the armor plating going on it. But I thought that effect was really cool, and I really, as you say, there's so many. In some ways, it's kind of almost like in much less or maybe more extreme sense, like with Star Wars in some ways, where there's so many little details that you go, God, that's really clever. That makes a lot of sense. And then there's a couple of glaring plot holes, and you're a bit like, wait a minute.
Yeah. I will happily admit that, like, you know, there's things I love in this film. Like I say, the attention to detail, like when Joker does his advert.
I love them.
And the fact he's using corpses. Well, I don't think even it is, but he's meant to be using corpses, and then he's animated the mouths. Like, that is proper creepy, and it's so well done.
It makes you uncomfortable. That's what this Joker does really well.
Yeah, he is. Really uncomfortable in a really weird way. Like, that advert really makes you feel uncomfortable.
It puts you on edge.
Yeah, it does put you on edge, yeah.
And then you get to the end of the film, though, and you go, you know, then you have Batman swooping through the city in his Batwing, which is cool and looks great, but he's brought down by basically the dumbest gun in any film ever. Like, one of the things that always worries me about that gun is like, because it looks good. It's almost Batman 66. Sorry, Batman 66. Because the Joker pulls it out of his trousers.
Oh, is that the really long
revolver
gun?
with like a meter-long barrel?
Long revolver, and all I'm thinking is like, how's he been walking? It's been really uncomfortable. And then he uses basically a revolver to bring down a plane.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this is ludicrous. Like, it's so silly. But it's one of those, like you say, like I could nitpick at that for hours, and I should, because I did. I picked at Star Wars for hours. So I felt I should pick these bits and pieces up. But this also comes back to the police, because Batman follows him up the tower of the church or whatever, and then the bell falls down, and you see sort of Commissioner Gordon rocks up with the police, and then tries to push it. But all he does is goes, no, it won't budge.
Oh yeah, that was the bit Mike was getting. Like, he was like, that was a pathetic attempt. He was like, it didn't even look like he tried to push it. He was like, I understand that that's a prop, but it didn't even look like he tried.
Yeah, it literally just, it didn't even look like he put even his own weight on it. It looks like almost like play fighting with a child. Like, oh no, I pushed you really hard.
The Commissioner Gordon in these two films is so useless. So beyond useless. Like, he's the commissioner. He knows that what's the name of the detective? The corrupt copper.
Oh God, I don't know.
But he knows he's corrupt, and he's got evidence of it. Yet he's like, I'm like, you're his boss. Fire him.
Is that Lando?
No,
Lando. Lando. Great spot, by the way. Lando plays Harvey Dent, who is later played by obviously becomes Two-Face. He was supposed to come back for what we will cover in the next episode, Batman Forever, to play the Two-Face, and he was actually contracted to do so. And then they had a bit of a falling out with Warner Brothers, and it didn't happen. You get Tommy Lee Jones. But yeah, I love the fact you've got I say Lando. Billy D's
I'm really bad with actors' names. So.
Yeah, because you normally you do association, don't you?
I'm really good at picturing. I'm really good at seeing people's faces, so I can be like, "Oh, I know you. You were like literally in that film for all of 10 seconds, and I recognize your face, but I can't remember your name for the life of me."
Yeah, you were doing that a lot with these sort of films because with a lot of these films, including the sort of sequel, you're like, where do I know them from?
Oh
And
yeah, it was Michelle Pfeiffer.
Pfeiffer.
I saw her face, and I was like, "Why do I know her?" And it's because of Hairspray.
Oh, okay.
And she's in Hairspray, and also Christopher Walken is also in Hairspray.
I was like, oh, she's. I was like, of the films I've seen Michelle Pfeiffer in, I was like, we haven't seen Mother, you haven't seen Criminal Minds. I was like, oh, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and you're like, no, it's not. And she was like, it's Hairspray. I was like, oh yeah, of course, she's like the worst person in the entire universe in Hairspray.
Yeah.
So I remember that. God, but I was going to say, I think one other thing I want to note about 89, which I noticed right at the start, which I thought was really cool, was when they do the artist sketch of Batman, and it's a Batman, like a little giant bat, Man Bat. I think is Man Bat a villain?
He is, yes. Yeah.
It looks like Man Bat in a suit, but I like the fact that you see a little signature of Bob Kane.
Well, it was drawn by Bob Kane.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, that. I saw that just for a second. I was like, oh, write that down. And Meg was like, what? And I was like, oh, it said Bob Kane. And she kind of looked at me. I was like, Bob Kane's the person who created Batman. I was like, really, that sketch was just like a nice little nod to probably Man Bat and that. And I thought that, and also that all the gun sounds, especially in 89 Batman, they all sound like they're from like the spaghetti western films, where it's like pew, 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 and it's just like ricocheting off everything all the time. Is this the film where I can't remember if it's this one or Batman Returns, because we watched them a day after each other, so they kind of blur a little bit. But was this the one where he drives the Batmobile really slowly into the building, drops a bomb, and then just casually drives out? And then, that is this one, isn't it? Yeah, because we mentioned earlier. And there was like that bomb. I think you just yelled out, fuck off, when that happened, because it was just really slow drive in, getting shot by everything, drops a little bomb, drives out, blows the whole thing to like the most ridiculously gigantic explosion ever. And it's just like, couldn't he have shot a rock here or rolled the ball in? Why?
Well, the fact of the matter is, the other thing is, he's not even in the car. He's remote controlling it. Because the car pulls up after the explosion and he gets in it, because that's when the Joker comes in the helicopter and he's like, missed me, and he sort of makes the Mickey and then flies off. But yeah, no, it is. It's that thing of like, he drives it into Acme Chemicals and you sort of like go in and you see all these people, like all of Joker's men, and the car's getting all shot at. And I love that. It sort of goes, and then sort of like the little ball comes out, drops, and then it drives off. And all I'm thinking is like, yeah, Batman's just killed a bunch of more people than RoboCop. Like, this guy's just taking out people left, right, and centre. Yeah, it is all a bit dodgy. The one thing I would say, though, the last note before we get onto Returns, is obviously this is a Tim Burton film, and Tim Burton often comes with Danny Elfman. And I love Danny Elfman. Danny Elfman did like Beetlejuice. He did Edward Scissorhands. Have you ever seen Edward Scissorhands?
I have.
I've seen it once, quite a while ago.
Of course, around Christmas, because it's quite a Christmassy sort of film.
I remember enjoying it, but I don't really remember that much about it.
It's one of those. It's one of the key brilliant Johnny Depp roles. It was like Sleepy Hollow, Edward Scissorhands. I think Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. That was probably at that point the Curse of the Black Pearl is where it starts to teeter off, because I found with Johnny Depp became such a typecast of being that kooky weird character that for about 10 to 15 years he was so weird and kooky it was just annoying. And then I found in Fantastic Beasts: Crimes of Grindelwald, although the film is crap, into Johnny Depp's Grindelwald being Grindelwald is actually the best part about the whole film, because it was the first film I've seen Johnny Depp in probably 20 years where he hasn't overacted. And it was the 90s, which was when Johnny Depp stopped doing it. Before Johnny Depp did that.
Treasure that, because he ain't coming back for the next ones.
Well, no, exactly. We saw that. Oh God.
Yeah, you're right. And just so Edward Scissorhands is amazing. Just as a side note, and I do recommend you go and see that again. Also, if you want to see Johnny Depp in a really good film, not being too kooky, but in a Depp film, go see Ed Wood. Oh,
I've heard of that.
Wonderful film, absolutely wonderful film. But anyway, back to Danny Elfman. Danny Elfman's score for this film and for the next film are two of my favourite scores for films ever. Like, I love the music in this film. I don't even know if it even made like a dent. Did you have any thoughts about it? Did it register at all?
No.
Megan.
It takes me a while to get into a film, so I'd have to watch it a couple of times. Like there are bits that you two are talking about and I'm like, I literally have no recollection of that happening, and I genuinely watched the film like 2 or 3 days ago. So if I work, because I love music and like musical scores, and as someone who has played instruments, it is something that appeals to me, but it would have to be something that I'd have to listen to again.
I think with you, what you do more so with scores is, what I found with Megan generally is she doesn't necessarily notice when the score is amazing, because you generally, with pretty much all movies we watch, we're fine, but you notice when the score's crap. So if there's music that really doesn't fit, I notice that Megan clicks on it immediately, whereas I don't necessarily click on that as quickly. It's almost like the optimist and the pessimist of music. When there's amazing scores, I'm like, yes. Whereas when it's crap, I'm like, it's all right. Whereas Megan's like, nope, absolutely not. I thought the music was good, although I will say, I thought the music was good and fitting, but for me personally, I didn't feel like it jumped up and above a lot of the other stuff. But I did feel like when I saw Danny Elfman come up when it was in the credits, was the world's longest credits we're talking about. Both
the world's longest credits and the world's longest entrance. Why are they so long, introductions to a film? Like they go on for 5 hours, like ages. It's so long. Like honestly, that draggy bit is just the starting of the film. Why is it so long?
But the music, honestly, I enjoyed it, but honestly, I didn't. There's nothing that specifically I can remember that actually stood out, which for me is probably a good thing.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, no, it's one of those again. Like the theme at the start of this, to me, is up there with John Williams' Superman score. You know, so the John Williams Superman score, or the John Williams Superman theme, you know, is up there as so recognizable, and so is this. And you'll hear this again in the next episode, because they then used it for the TV series, the animated TV series. Basically took the Elfman score and rejigged it a little bit, and then used it for that. I do. I love it. I absolutely think it's fantastic. And the Prince music as well. You get Prince doing Bat Dance and a whole bunch of other stuff, which was great.
I do remember, actually, there was one bit that me and Megan both didn't like about the music, which was, it was me more so, which was when it was the bit where Joker's handing out all the money and stuff. Yeah. And I love that scene, but I just found, obviously when it said at the start music's done by Prince, I was like, neither of us are massive Prince fans. I can't say I know enough Prince to like or dislike him. I just know of him, kind of. And I remember there was that scene, and I was like, there was that one moment I was like, this doesn't really, for me personally, it didn't really sound like it fitted, because the music was I don't know if maybe it was just the mixing stuff, but like the music was quite loud, everything else was quite quiet, but it was meant to be really dark and sinister, and it just seemed like there's almost, not Boogie Nights, but you know what I mean, like that kind of light.
That's the point, though. It's the juxtaposition.
Well, that's the thing. But for me, it just didn't quite work. I just found, I feel like that was, for me, probably, unfortunately, watching the Dark Knight films, when something bad happens, it's got that sinister music. Whereas that was like, yeah, everyone boogie down, woo! And there's like music, and like obviously that is meant to be the feel, because all the crowd are like, oh yay, free money, even though you know, as soon as you hear the term free money,
when he's on the float.
Yeah. I did love that bit when you got really upset when Bob got shot, didn't you?
Oh yeah. I got really sad when he died. I was just like, I don't mind Bob. I was like, he's really loyal. He's been really loyal to the Joker. And then literally as soon as I said that, he shot him. I was like, and he's dead. Okay. Cool.
Do you know who he is? Bob the henchman.
No.
He's one of Jack Nicholson's best friends.
Is it?
Yeah, and that's how he got the job. He was just like, oh, we'll give him the job, and that was it. He was just on set then. They added to the character role and stuff. So,
when I saw that, when he had all the sort of scars on his face and things, I was watching that and I was thinking, I thought Victor Zsasz, I think his name is, and I was like, so that's sure. I was like, I don't remember him even being in the sort of Burtonverse films, and I was like, but with the scars, I was like, is it? And then it was like, I had to look it up while we were watching it, because I was looking up quite a few things with both 89 and 92 Batman, because there's certain origin stories and things or potentially deaths and things that don't 100% line up, because Megan was like, because especially Catwoman, that was a bit of a mess. But with Joker's real name, because you asked me, Megan, you were like, oh, is Joker's actual name Jack Napier? And I was like,
because I'd never heard it before.
I said,
no. So Burton, when they wrote this as well, it's not just Burton, but the writers were just sort of like, here's all the comics. And they were like, we don't care.
Yeah.
So Jack Napier, they have introduced Jack Napier into the comics as a bit of a tease at times.
And the was it Small Arrowverse? I think it is. They use his name as well.
Yeah, they had him in that. And obviously, so the Joker's origin is never known. Like, you know, Batman didn't create the Joker. You've obviously had the Killing Joke, which was a comic written by Alan Moore, which introduced...
That's what I said to you about, yeah.
That sort of thing. But also, like, Jack Napier didn't kill Batman's parents, like Joe Chill did. So there isn't this, this symmetry of sort of like, as Joker said, like, I created you, you created me, like, who's to know who really created who, sort of thing. All that was added in just because it sort of felt cool for the film. But they do the same in Batman Returns, and I suppose we'll jump to that really. So, 1992 Batman Returns. Again, they were like, "What's the Penguin's origin? Oh, he's a gangster. No, he's a freak from the sewers. Oh, okay. What's Catwoman? She's a jewels thief. No, she's a revenant from the dead, possessed by cats. All right, we'll just go with that." Yeah, Burton's more about the monsters than actually trying to stick to any comic book lore.
Well, it's like with Beetlejuice, just thinking back, because obviously I mentioned it earlier. The one thing I would say about Beetlejuice is the thing that annoyed me a bit about it was I remember with Beetlejuice seeing the character transformations when they become really weird and messed up, and the girl, she pulls her mouth out and becomes giant, and the guy pulls his skin, and I was like, I remember seeing this bit at some point in my life. I was like, oh, this is amazing. This bit, I was like, oh, this is probably where the film gets amazing, because it was like, they look so cool and creepy. And then they have it for about, 2.5 minutes, and then it goes, and you're like, Tim Burton just had this concept idea of these really cool looking characters, probably couldn't really figure out what to do with them, and was like, let's just pop them in here for 2 minutes. And that's almost, a lot of Tim Burton films almost just vessels for him to, like, he gets this random idea, like in the shower, like, right, let's figure out how I can force this into a film.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
but yeah.
The thing is, like, it was a Disney animator. That's where he started.
Did he make Alice in Wonderland stuff? Did he? Am I right? Obviously, he did. That's the remakes of Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah,
but
he did those. When Disney was going through its troubles in the 80s, so like Dark Cauldron and a few others, like, he was an animator on those. So that's where he started, and he went off and did his own thing. And I mean, when he got Batman, like, he'd only made like 3 films. He'd made Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Beetlejuice, and Edward Scissorhands. And then they were like, here's $1 million, here's $100 million, make Batman. and then the thing is, because Batman made so much money, like all the merchandising, everyone was... Do you know who made the most out of all this, by the way? Jack Nicholson, because he got a percentage profits, not just for Batman, but for Batman Returns as well. Like, that
really?
guy laughed. Yeah, best. They say it's the best percentage contract in Hollywood history. Guy was laughing all the way to the bank.
I think it was, just to jump off that tiny bit for a second, it's almost like with, I think it was George Lucas with Star Wars, is that with the studios when he made it, I think he said, like, he would take some obviously amount of it because of intellectual property, but he put basically, he was like, you guys can have a lot of the profits, but I want almost all the merchandising money.
Yeah.
And then obviously Star Wars is one of, if not the biggest merchandising money makers in the history of mankind. Obviously, Lucas had that genius idea of, let's name every single character, and every single character that you've ever seen in every film for even half a second gets sold, and then that. So that, I just think when you hear those little stories,
fair play to George for making every vehicle a toy. But with this, one of the things I say with the 92 thing, talking about toys, Batman was hugely successful, and you got all the toys. Like, I had a Burton-esque Batmobile and the figure.
I think even I did as well, to be fair.
Yeah. And so when they come to Batman 92, they were like, Tim, do your thing. Go do your thing. And he comes up with this nightmarish vision of circus freaks and dead people. And then they're like, they watch it back, and McDonald's had to back out of a Happy Meal deal because they couldn't market this film on their Happy Meals.
Oh my God.
The executives were like, what have you made? We can't market this. This isn't the film you made 2 years ago, or 2 or 3 years ago. And he's like, no, it's not. This is my vision. And they were just like, oh shit. Like, what have we done?
Do you, Scott, have interest? Do you like Batman Returns or Batman 89 more? Which of the two do you prefer? Of interest?
89 is my favourite. I do love Batman Returns though, and mainly because I think it's so weirdly messed up. It looks beautiful. But I mean, you were saying about the penguin. What were your thoughts on Danny DeVito as the penguin?
So I really like Danny DeVito as the penguin, but it kept annoying me because his spit was black. And it was just going all over his face. Yeah. And then there was the bit where they were like, because they're in the sewers, but like, I was like, how are these penguins? First of all, how has he got so many fucking penguins? Yeah, like there's so many.
First of all, there's like 10 or 20, and then there's that last scene where it's like a whole crowd.
Scene where they've got like just hundreds of penguins. Yeah. And then, because it's like underneath an abandoned zoo of some description. Yeah. So, first of all, well, yeah, why are there so many penguins? Because the zoo definitely wouldn't have had that many penguins. I have never, ever been to a zoo that has hundreds of penguins.
How sinister would that be if you walked in and like, I'm not sure I feel comfortable with that many penguins watching
Penguin World.
But how are the penguins surviving in the sewer? Yeah. Like, I would be like, they would be mutated. And also, why is he riding around on this weird duck? Why is it not a penguin? like, it doesn't make any sense. It was more just the quantity and the actual logical sense of how those penguins would survive, because they wouldn't.
But this is what I said though. This is where Batman 66 comes back to haunt us for the first time. Like, it'll happen again, don't worry. But this is where like the end of Batman Returns. It might as well be Adam West in the Batboat flying around the sewer, chasing down penguins with rockets on their backs.
Because then they're being mind controlled.
Yeah, they got the weird helmets.
Oh yeah, because they were wearing the little armor. Oh yeah, they had the little helmets on.
They also were waddling about.
They were waddling around, and then they jammed the frequency, and then they all just started turning around and wandering back where they came from.
The first thing you said is that when they all wanted, Megan was like, how on earth do they all know where to go? And then immediately, as soon as she says that, Megan's like exposition man, when like Robin exposition man, when we watch the films, because she always, whenever she says something, the opposite seems to happen. Oh, I love that Bob character. He's so loyal to the Joker. Dead. Why is it that these penguins know exactly where they're going? Then Batman says, I've jammed their frequency signal. Now they won't know where they're going. Yeah. It's just every time Megan puts something out.
But the funny thing is as well is that even when the frequency gets jammed, they all go back together.
But the exact same direction.
Penguins wouldn't do that.
Also, you said like a little weird plot hole is like penguins. You point out the different species of penguins.
Oh yeah, different species of penguins don't live together. I was like, they have emperor penguins there. They have Humboldt penguins there. I was like, this doesn't make sense. And Mike was laughing at me because I was getting so agitated by the fact that there were different species of penguins living together.
Megan loves penguins.
I do love penguins.
Clearly see.
So I was just like, this doesn't make sense.
You did say at the start.
I like the fact that you're focusing on that. That doesn't make
of all the stuff in this film, it's the Humboldt penguins and the emperors.
I mean, there's the whole thing as well with Catwoman, and she's like literally her fingers getting eaten by a cat.
Yeah.
When she falls off the roof. There's so many things with animals in that film.
But keeping with Penguin, I was going to say is that you point out right at the start. I mean, one of the things I'd say about Returns is I actually preferred Returns to 89, if I'm honest. Although I think for me, it's almost like Returns is more up and down. But I think the ups for me are better than the how bad the downs are. Whereas I found that 89 was really good, but it's really Jack Nicholson's show is the first one. Obviously, I think Returns is more Penguin's show. But Megan pointed out right at the start of this film, when you've got how dark it is with Penguin's parents.
Like, like literally straight away they throw their baby into like the water
after he eats a cat. He's in that cage, isn't he? They're like, oh my god, what's happened to this baby? And then the cat walks past and he just eats a cat. And then you see the cage rattle.
Well, that's what I mean, like, because the first sort of 10 minutes of this film tells you, if I was an executive sat watching this and thinking back to 89 and the success you've had. And the first 10 minutes of this film, like, you don't see Batman for ages, although the introduction of Batman in this is immense. Stupid, but immense. The first 10 minutes is how about a baby being abandoned, like, a deformed baby. And I love the fact that, like, you have the parents sat there and they're all sort of rich and toffee-nosed and they sort of have it in a steel box. And all sorts of stuff. One of the things that, and this is probably me overthinking it, but I've realised, like, Penguin is the anti-Moses.
Yeah.
So Moses, like, he goes away in a wicker basket. He gets adopted by the Egyptians and then leads the Jewish people out of Egypt to safety, right? I was like, right, okay, so what's this then? Because he starts in a wicker basket. He's adopted by penguins, comes back to kill all the first sons, like the plagues of Egypt, but not to save anyone, other than just to take revenge. So I was like, wow, he's like the anti-Moses. But there's so much like weird little symbolism in this film that I'd not noticed before. Like, watching it this time, I was really sort of getting into it, because you obviously get the circus gang, and I love the way they all look as well, like the clowns and stuff.
Yeah.
One of my favourite little things in this film is so stupid. It goes, we said about the light in the first film. It was like a little fact. When they have the masquerade ball at the end of the film?
Yeah.
And you've had that sort of, they're trying to turn on the mayor, aren't they? They're trying to sort of like undermine the mayor so that Oswald or the penguin can become mayor. The mayor's costume includes a knife in his back.
I noticed that as well.
We were
and I was
confused.
like, what a wonderful touch. That's amazing. So, yeah.
I saw that. I thought I'd missed something when I saw that, but I didn't realize it was like metaphorical imagery. I was like, is he just... Because it's like a proper jam in the back, and I was like...
It was a massive knife as well.
Like, is he about to die? And he just seemed to be okay. It's like...
Yeah, it's obviously part of his costume to be sort of like, and to show that, like, as he's been stabbed. I was like, that's really cool. But yeah, I do find the whole penguin thing both silly, but I really enjoy him as well.
Yeah. And Danny DeVito was just made for that role. Like, obviously, we've been watching a lot of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and it's like one of my favorite shows. And Danny DeVito is just the worst person in the whole world in that series, and it's great. And like in real life, Danny DeVito is like one of the nicest people in Hollywood. Like he basically like half adopted the girl from Matilda when her mum got ill, and he showed the mum like the unfinished version of Matilda because she was like terminal. And he did you hear about Danny DeVito, and he's like the nicest guy in Hollywood. But all the roles he plays, because he's just like 4 foot man who's basically quite, to be horrible, but it's the roles he plays, this gross little sort of. And when he's Penguin, he is so vulgar and so like...
He's also kind of rapey as well.
Kind of. He's horrendously rapey, isn't he? He's
just
like, and he plays the role so well, and I couldn't imagine anyone doing Penguin like better.
Well, exactly. I think, like you say, he's the Jack Nicholson of this film. Like,
yes,
he's
100%.
so perfect for the role. But you say about how rapey he is. Like, there's some of the double entendres in this film. Like, again, like, because I'm watching it a little close this time, I was like, I've never spotted that before. When Catwoman's in his apartment or whatever it is, and he comes in and says, "Oh, just the pussy I've been looking for," and I was like, "What? Wait a minute."
Yeah.
Make a call that.
Yeah. So. The face that I just made, and I know that this is a podcast, but the face that I just made is the exact face I made when I heard it, and it is not a pleasant face. It was not.
He's
nice.
like the unsexiest, most vulgar man ever, who's half spitting all the time.
Oh God, all that. Yeah.
With Catwoman doing all these, not quite as bad as 66, but also kind of bad cat puns, and all this. It was like reverse sexual tension. It was like there's so little sexual chemistry between them, but they're both saying weirdly sexual things. You're just really uncomfortable for that whole scene.
It is just repugnant.
One of the things that I wanted to ask actually is, and because I was trying to, in my head, I was thinking of how sort of like prescient this film is, sort of like corrupt businessmen getting involved in politics, and all this other stuff with Max Schreck, the wonderful Christopher Walken in this film. Like he's another one that's sort of like vile in this film. But also, like the whole like, Me Too thing with Selena Kyle, Catwoman, and Michelle Pfeiffer, like being, ridiculed and then killed at work and coming back to it. I was like, is there an element of like, I don't know if you felt it at all, because it might be like a bunch of white guys writing it and directing it. But did you feel there was trying to be like a female empowerment in this film?
I think so, because obviously, like, any time that there's a supervillain that is, or any time that there's a protagonist that's a woman, I think they always try and make it so that they're empowering. I mean, Catwoman, obviously, the only representation of Catwoman that I have is this representation.
Yeah, because she hasn't seen Rises.
I haven't seen anything else, so I just know her as this like scatty, like mentally unstable woman. So yeah, obviously she takes it in as her own to try and seek revenge, I suppose, on on Christopher Walken, doesn't she? Because she obviously tries to get him back for what he did to her.
Yeah.
I mean, he pushed her out a window.
Well, when that happened, as soon as it happened, because we were watching it, and then, because as I said, I have vague recollections of the film, so when certain things happened, I was like, oh yeah, but obviously Megan not seeing it. As soon as you got pushed, you just yelled, fucking hell. It's just like, because it's so sudden, isn't it? It's like, you're kind of seeing him kind of pondering, and you're thinking, oh, what's he going to do? Is he going to slap her or something? Was he going to yell at her? And it's just, bam, straight out the window. And you watch her fall and cut through those.
Yeah, I think the difficult thing is with the whole female empowerment thing is that obviously when it is female empowerment, it's meant to be like, yeah, I'm strong, I'm a woman, I can do this. But Catwoman's she's scatty as fuck. Like, yeah, she's so like delusional and unstable that
she's like the psycho ex-girlfriend almost.
Yeah, it's kind of like they're trying to be empowering, but at the same time they haven't quite hit the mark with it.
It's not like Wonder Woman, is it? It's not like, Wonder Woman.
Yeah, Wonder
Gadot.
Woman is
she's like her and Black Widow as an example, because Megan's seen, I'm sure, the MCU movies and the DC movies. Like Wonder Woman and Black Widow, they are strong, uncompromising, brilliant women,
and they don't need men.
Yeah. Yes. Whereas Catwoman's got this.
She's got this
weird thing with Batman, where, because when we watched it, there's that scene where they're in Wayne Manor and they're just kind of talking, and then Catwoman literally lunges mouth first and it was like, whoa, it almost made me jump. There's also like a jump scare of Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman launching at Michael Keaton on that sofa, and it was one thing I keep saying when we were watching. I don't know why, but recently in films, every film we've watched in the last month, there's been this really close up of people kissing, and I'm not a prude in any way, but like, I don't really enjoy watching people kiss on screen because it's just kind of gross, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we're watching it, and it's like, especially when it's people who are, in air quotes, passionate, which ends up just being a lot of tongue and
rubbing their face against each other.
And that's what it was. It was just like this. She is empowering in some way, but also it's kind of damaging, because almost like saying, yeah, she's a strong woman, but she's absolutely batshit.
It shows someone that is very dependent on others, but has obviously been treated really crappily in her life,
but also very sexual as well.
Over sexualized, but also doesn't really know how to deal with those emotions. So it's kind of odd.
Yeah, it's almost like one step forward but two steps back in a way, or maybe two steps forward and one step back, because it's like, yeah, it's good, she's strong, empowering and stuff, but
it's almost like empowerment by committee, isn't it? Because someone's gone like, okay, she needs to be a strong woman. Like, they literally have the line, "I'm Catwoman, hear me roar." Like,
that bit was
like, and then
Mike was just like, "Cats don't roar." I was like, "Big cats roar."
Yeah. And then she saves that woman who's being mugged, and there are moments when you're like, right, I can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to give her, like you say, the power, and then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, but you got to make her sexy. So now have a move in this way so that her bottom is on display for the next 3 minutes and all this other stuff. And like,
yeah,
you just undid everything you've just done.
Yeah, it's like if I had a young girl now, or just a child that is a girl, and she wanted to aspire to be like one of these women, like obviously Wonder Woman is a superhero, and then Catwoman is kind of like an anti-hero in some way. I would want her to aspire to be Wonder Woman, not Catwoman, for sure.
Yeah, but it kind of depends on the iteration, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit like with all this though. Like, I wouldn't aspire, even for a boy. Like, when you see like kids dressing up as Batman, like, I want to be Batman. I'm like, oh, really? Don't. He's clearly got issues. Like, he's dealing with his grief by beating people up. I'm not entirely sure he's a good role model.
Well, one thing Megan noticed as well is in both Returns and 89 was that you said about how what is up with Batman being like really closed off to everyone, and then as soon as he cracks the door open to let a woman in, he tells her fucking everything. Like, it was like as soon as they get invited to Wayne Manor, they're immediately making out or having sex, and then obviously
it goes from 0 to 100. I'm like, all right, Batman, calm down.
This is the thing I was going to pick up for all three films so far, and I think it's a running theme, and I want to see what you guys think of the next episode. Is every single one of these films just says all Batman needs is a woman. Because in 66, he's like, oh, there's Kitty, Catwoman in that one. He's like, oh, well, I could save her and other things. Then you get Vicky Vale trying to sort of, fix him and save him in Batman. And now you've got Michelle Pfeiffer, who together they're saying, like, together we can be, we're both broken. Maybe together we can be fixed. I'm like, wow, that's a dangerous relationship. That is.
Yeah,
That's like if I had to give any advice to anyone in the planet about relationships, it's don't fucking do that. It's like do the opposite. Be 100% happy with yourself, and once you are, or not, maybe not 100% because near on impossible, but be content with who you are and what you want. Then go into the world and find someone else to help you. Don't be broken and find someone else to fill that void, because that is not a healthy relationship.
I blame Alfred. It's Alfred who keeps trying to do this. He's trying to force these women on him. He's going like, look, if I just get him a woman, it'll be fine. Or maybe he's just thinking, if I get him a partner, like, I haven't got to do all this shit I keep having to deal with. I can retire.
the women that he goes for, obviously in 66 and in, is it 92? Is that when it came out?
89, it's Batman 89 or Batman Returns is 92.
Right, okay. But so 66, so two of them are Catwomen.
Yeah.
So, and then the other one, she's a stalker. Like, he doesn't call, she says that he's going out of town and she's like, all right, Alfred, I'll see you later. I'll see you when you get back. And he's like, don't know what you're talking about, mate. And then she's like, all right, I'm going to stalk the hell out of this guy. I've literally met for one night and had sex with, and now I'm going to stalk him because that's what women do, apparently. So she like goes after him and like follows him. So every girl that he's trying to get with in all of the different depictions have had issues. Yeah, broken.
Yeah. They're all a bit broken. Keep that in mind when you watch the rest of the films.
Okay.
I'm aware of the of Poison Ivy.
It's not just Poison Ivy. I'm sure it's a running theme. I'm sure, and I'll be interested to see if you think I'm right or wrong. Other thing about it is that you said about, let's go back to one of the comments you made early on about how useless and absent the police are in this film. There appear to be two policemen. There's Commissioner Gordon and the guy who drives his car. All they do when the circus gang turns up at the start of the film, they're like, "Get the signal on, get the signal on," and
immediately.
Yeah. Although I will say I forgot to mention earlier, but that starting sequence, I think, of Batman Returns is probably, in my opinion, the best start of any Batman film. Now, I do love Dark Knight, Dark Knight Rises. I mean, Dark Knight Rises has got the really cool Bane plane stuff, but like, I just think the way it was shot and the feel of it, the pacing, the visuals of it, and obviously that really cool bit I mentioned earlier, which is the Batmobile just with that little pole coming out the bottom of it and spinning around on the spot.
You mean when he burns a man alive? Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, is it like a thing that Batman like burns? No, someone burns in every single Batman film.
Oh yeah, because there's that bit at the end where
there's someone else
Christopher
burns.
Walken's character, he melts, and it's almost the same prosthetic as in 89 Batman when Joker zaps the. It's just this weird thing with Tim Burton likes skeletons with bulging burnt skin and eyes. But the thing, well, I was going to say, one of the things as well at the start is that I think you touched on it earlier, which was when it happened, it's probably the coolest shot in maybe any Batman film ever, which is when the bat signal shines into Wayne Manor, and you've got Michael Keaton stands up. And I was like, that's the coolest shot ever. But as Megan points out,
obviously that wouldn't happen. Like, everyone would know that was Batman.
Why does the bat signal go to Wayne Manor of everywhere?
Here's the thing, though. If you look at it, because this is how it works, and it's worse than what you're thinking. The bat signal projects over Gotham City, and in doing so it seems to activate something at Wayne Manor. So in Wayne Manor, a bunch of sort of like floodlights come on using mirrors, and they move, don't they? They move, and then they project. So the bat signal that goes through his window is attached to Wayne Manor. So at some point you're going to have someone who's doing the windows and going like, why has this dude got a bunch of bat signals attached to his house? How weird. I've got to give him a clean while I'm here.
The thing is, awesome. Though, it is a really cool shot, but it just doesn't make sense because I was saying to Mike, I was like, so no one knows that Batman's Batman, like apart not Alfred, even,
apart from Alfred, but
apart from Alfred, but like even so, Commissioner Gordon doesn't know that Batman's Batman.
No.
So like, why is everyone trusting someone that they literally don't know the actual identity of? They're literally just putting their lives into this guy's hands, and they're like, I actually don't know who you are, apart from the fact that you wear a weird little mask. Yeah, but go on, you crack on, save our city.
That's it. I love the fact that the first thing Commissioner Gordon does, like, the circus gang haven't done anything yet. they turn up and they sort of do something to the tree. And he's like, get on the signal. And you get Bruce, who's brooding in his sort of study, and then you get the light. And it's cool. I love the fact that, like, I love the idea he's just sat there brooding in the dark like a proper emo.
Like a bat.
And then, like I say, he drives into the city, and they've been waiting for him, and they've just been causing chaos. And I'm like, this could have been solved. I've seen how brutal the police are in modern society. They'd have battered those guys.
Oh, there's one bit. There's one bit which is that starting thing again when Batman set that guy on fire. And Megan said something out loud that was so funny I had to write it down, which was when that guy, it was that bit. I don't know if you want to say it or if you want me to read you saying it.
No, you can say it.
Where at the start, when the Batmobile basically ignites that person on fire. You know, I think he drives in, hits two people into the building with a bit of fire, and then he spins around with the coolest gadget ever, and then he ignites the Batmobile, and the fire shoots out and sets the guy on fire. And the guy's running you see him for about 2 seconds, running and screaming on fire. And Megan just went, "Stop, drop, and roll, mate. There's snow everywhere. It's the best time to be on fire."
You just stop, drop, roll. You're literally surrounded by water and ice. Like, if you just rolled on the ground, you'd be fine. Like, probably with minimal burning.
I was just saying, it's the best time to be on fire. It's like when there's snow on the ground, and you just get this guy just running without dropping. It just killed me.
The fact that, like I said, because you're right, there's easy solutions for a lot of this. But again, like, you know, another time, because Batman's clearly killed that guy, I think, at least got third-degree burns.
Severely, and in America,
sure, yeah.
the hospital bills alone, that's probably going to bankrupt him and his family. So.
My other favourite one is, though, you get the really big, strong man that they've got, like the big burly
tattoo guy.
The tattoo guy. The way he deals with him, like after he can't beat him, he attaches sort of like C4 to the front of him and throws him down a hole to be blown up. I've never been able to get past that one. That's always bothered me, that one.
I also find it was funny that when I think it's I can't remember if it's before. I think it's when before Catwoman is Catwoman. Yeah, is when Batman saves her, because there's that guy. I think he's got his knife to her throat or something, and Batman shoots past him, and he's like, "You missed." And then he pulls probably the thinnest bit of plaster I've ever seen in my life, hits the guy on the back of his head, and knocks him out for a good 5 minutes. You see like continuous scenes where he's still on the floor, and you're like, that wasn't like an anvil. It was a bit of thin plaster. Like
to be fair though, Selena Kyle then zaps him.
Oh yeah, I mean,
she's got that taser.
Yeah, that is a fair.
But linking into that though is that there's that whole bit where he's just like, oh yeah, because they meet each other when he's dressed as when he's Bruce Wayne, sorry, and then he's like, oh yeah, we've met, and she was like, have we? And he was like, oh no, we haven't. And I'm like, you're meant to be like incognito. And you've just blatantly said, we've met when I was Batman, and now I'm Bruce Wayne.
It's the way he says it as well, because instead of saying, I thought you were someone else, he says, I thought I was, he says, oh, I'm sorry, I've got myself confused with I thought I was someone else. And she's like,
and she stares at him.
And she says, she's like, what? And he's like, doesn't matter. Move on.
Batman 66, little sprinkling of that in there, just that weird little amount of goofiness.
Well, to me, this film is peppered with 66ness in little bits of it, you know, as you said, sort of the whole finale with the Penguins is so 66. The fact that the Penguin bursts into the masquerade ball on the back of a rubber duck is both wonderful and weird and nonsensical. You know, there's just so many bits in this that don't make sense. I'm just like, but I love it. I'm happy with all of this, but I can't take it too serious.
I mean, to be fair, I'm still confused as to why they even wanted him to be mayor.
Well, it's that vagueness, I think, of just like Batman's clearly not doing the best job and the mayor's letting Batman kind of run around. Is that it, Scott?
No, basically what it is. So the plot of this film, which again, doesn't really matter. By about 2/3 in, the plot doesn't matter. The whole plot of this film hinges on Max Schreck's business proposal for the energy plant. And then obviously they find out that the energy plant isn't going to produce energy, it's going to suck and stockpile energy. And so Max Schreck realizes that like Bruce Wayne is going to try and defeat it, and he's going to have the mayor on side because nobody trusts Max Schreck because, well, he looks like a baddie.
I mean,
he looks like an evil scientist from the 50s.
To be fair, Christopher Walken just looks slimy.
So Christopher Walken, Max Schreck's plan is to undermine the mayor so that he gets impeached or voted out or whatever, and then put the Penguin in, using him as a sympathetic character. So everyone sort of gets behind this whole story of an abandoned, child that's now made good, sort of thing. Gets him in power, then he can just push through his thing for the power plant. That's the plot.
Right.
That's the plot for the first 40 minutes.
And then devolves into crazy penguins.
Then that sort of just goes away, and then it becomes this whole different plot about the Penguin then goes back to this idea of just killing the firstborn sons and everything else. But that's the plot of the film.
I was going to say, one of the things I loved about that is that moment where it's another little 66 moment. But I think this moment works really well, where you've got that the quite large clown. And you've got Penguin, and he goes, he's going to kill all the firstborns, everything. And everyone's kind of standing around him silently. And that big clown, he goes,
oh, yeah.
Are you sure about that? That's, killing the firstborn, that seems a bit, what's kind of almost like, what's the point in that? And the Penguin just looks at him, pulls out an umbrella, just shoots him. And he just
I love the words. It's the dialogue. He says, oh, Penguin, isn't that a little? And he shoots him and goes, no, it's a lot.
That's it. Yeah, I couldn't remember exactly what it was.
It's really good. Yeah.
It's the umbrellas. He has like a whole thing of umbrellas that have different things. There's one that has like little like animals that go around. There's a gun umbrella. There's like an electric
that's how he
umbrella.
dies, isn't it? He's dying, and he somehow comes back for a few seconds, and then he grabs the umbrella to do like he's meant to put out the gun umbrella to shoot Batman, and he pulls it out, and then it's that weird. What is there any reason for that? That umbrella,
like a mobile, isn't it?
Mobile. He says it. Yeah, he shows it earlier on, doesn't he? Because he shows it to Max Schreck at one point and says, "Oh, I'm gonna be like the pied penguin, and I'm gonna basically entice all the kids to come down. They're all gonna trust me, and then I'm gonna walk them into a vat of the toxic waste that we've found from your power plant or whatever it is, or your industrial plant." So that's part of his plan, I think. I don't know.
It's a pretty weird umbrella. Like he's got all those umbrellas. I tell you what, though, we loved that umbrella bit where he pulls the umbrella out and then it spins and then it starts to, and it was like the umbrella copter, because we were like, that's even cooler than the Batcopter from '66 Batman. So that is a really cool little. It is weird where it's almost like every two things in Batman Returns that are really cool, you've got one thing that is just ridiculous and makes no sense.
Yeah, this is what, if I'm honest, like that we're about to embark on a bit of a slide.
I have warned Megan about
and
Batman and Robin.
This is where it starts. Like I love Batman Returns and Batman '89, but you can see that sort of like there's a little bit of a ridiculousness, and '66 starts to creep back in until basically it's there, and you might as well have Adam West doing the Bat Dance. But we'll get to that point. Anyway, we've done quite a long sort of wrap of the first three films in this retrospective. So, just going to do very, very quick wrap ups. Is there any final thoughts you've got on the first three films that we've done for our Batman retrospective?
There's a couple of random little Catwoman bits that I quite like. Like "Life's a bitch, so am I." That's quite a cool line. Or where she just says "meow" and then the explosion happens behind her. That was quite funny and things. But really, I mean, I really like the guy with I think it's called Organ Grinder, where he's got like the music box and then there's
he's a great character. I love him in so many films. Yeah.
I mean, I think I feel like if my personal overview of the three films was like '66, it's ridiculous, it's silly, it makes very little sense. But if you go in thinking that, it's actually quite brilliant in a lot of ways. And then '89 is pretty consistent, really good, solid film. And I can really see why it kind of spring-loaded the Batman franchise. And I think Returns was a sequel, although in some ways it wasn't as strong. I think it's a really good sequel in the way of a lot of the times you get sequels, neither they're just crap or they're just carbon copies of the first. And I think that Returns did a really good job, or well, probably Tim Burton did a really good job of having it different enough so it was still interesting and crazy stuff going on, but not so off the wall different that it offends everyone in a way. That's probably, for me personally. What about you, Magano?
Yeah, I mean, I liked all of them. I didn't hate any of them, and I hate a lot of films.
Well, get ready.
I did enjoy it. I enjoy the campiness and the silliness of it all, to be fair, because it just makes me laugh. But yeah,
films that don't you can't take them too seriously.
you can't take them too
Danny
seriously.
DeVito is the main villain, and he's, I know the Penguin is a very famous Batman villain and stuff, but like when the main villain's big plan at the end is an army of penguins wearing little funny suits waddling through the city.
That'd be the dream. I just want to cuddle them.
It's just penguins are great. So it's like Megan just had the biggest smile on her face for the whole end scene. She's like,
I was like, there's so many penguins.
I think you're like, I don't know if you asked me, you just said out loud, you're like, I hope these penguins don't die. It's like, oh, look at the penguins. Wait a minute, they don't die, do they? But aside from that, I mean, I think that the cat. Oh no, there's one bit I really didn't like about Batman Returns, which I don't really think landed very well, which is where he just pulls his mask off in front of Catwoman.
He rips it. The silicone rips.
And he's still got like a turtleneck. Because there's this weird thing about wearing turtleneck sweaters as Bruce Wayne, and then he basically has a turtleneck Batman suit.
I did like the bit actually with Batman and Catwoman where they both had that moment where they realised who each other were.
Under the mistletoe.
Yes.
Yeah, because they obviously made that comment. I can't remember what.
I think it's you kiss under the
mistletoe is deadly if you eat it, and a kiss is deadly if you mean it.
So they both made that comment, and they were like, "Wait, hold on a second.
And they're like, "Do we have to fight now?" And then
they go outside.
That bit's really cool, but it is that weird thing with Batman where it's like when he rips his mask off at the end, I just feel like that's so out of character for Batman. It doesn't feel like it works.
It is, but it also results in one of the best lines and reactions in the film when Christopher Walken turns to him and says, "Bruce Wayne, what are you dressed up as Batman?"
It's like, and then there's a Catwoman that's like, "He is Batman,
you moron." I was like, yeah, but they're really good. I mean, these three films I think are really good, and it's funny. It's almost what we're doing is the next episode. I know is probably not going to be as much praising and things, but it is. It's that weird thing in the 90s where a lot of superhero films dipped, because I've only seen bits and pieces of a lot of the Superman films, but I know that the Superman films are generally considered really good, and they just slowly there's like little bits in each one which are a bit, but they kind of
they're all good in their own way, apart from 4, which is crap in its own way.
Is that a Quest for Peace? Is that
Quest for Peace? Yeah, is interesting. But yeah, no, it's interesting. I'm with you guys. I really enjoy these films. I think Batman 66 is just like a big day glow ball of nonsense. Like it's there to be just fun and funny and not taken too serious. I do kind of love the fact that in the day, even when I was a kid, I thought Batman and Batman Returns was, that was dark and grim and gritty and all this other stuff. And now I watch it and I'm like, it's not too far away from 66, if I'm perfectly honest.
It's like 66. It's like starts off way darker and it's like, oh, this is going to be... But as it goes on, it does sort of become lighter, which is weird because normally films do the opposite. Normally films... Yeah. I think that's what I said when we were watching it, actually. I was like, normally films, apart from like all new Disney films, which have like parents killed off in the first 5 minutes, and like every film now, aside from them, most films start off kind of light and you build up the characters, then some horrendous thing happens, and then after that, it gets darker and then kind of lights at the end. But yeah, with these ones, they start off really dark and then kind of get lighter as they go.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think so. That's it. I think we've done the first 3 films in the retrospective. We've got the next 3 films. So the first one we're going to be dipping into. It's still a little Burton-esque. It came soon after. Started in 1992, but this film was released in 1993. It's Batman, the animated movie. It's called Batman: Mask of the Phantasm, and it's an animated movie sort of spinning out of the TV show. So I'll be interested to see what you think of that, because that's the animated series is considered probably the best on-screen version of Batman ever by many, many people. And then we're going to go into, we'll discuss probably a little bit as to why Burton left, but then we are going to be covering what's referred to as the Schumacher years, covering Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. And we are going to experience 90s Jim Carrey at his most Jim Carrey.
Yeah, Megan doesn't like Jim Carrey that much.
Well, you are going to hate this. and then we are going to have Arnold Schwarzenegger even appears in a Batman film later on. So
that is
what a treat, huh?
Yeah. I mean,
absolutely buzzing.
You get, you're going to get some different Batman. You get Val Kilmer as Batman. You're going to get George Clooney as Batman.
God.
And you're actually going to get Robin as well. Robin is back.
Everyone's favorite, the boy wonder.
So excited.
The next two films of the franchise are so 90s. It is unbelievable. Like, yeah. Yeah, you wait. Oh, Alicia Silverstone. Alicia Silverstone even it comes into one of them as well. So,
Lord.
yeah. I'm
I'm
throwing
excited.
names out now that probably mean nothing to you, but you wait.
Yeah, you say it. I'm like, yeah, Alicia Silverstone. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know who that is.
No, yeah, you were too young. You wee bairns. Right, anyway, I shall wrap this up. So quickly, for both of you, for you, Mike, how can people find you on social media? And Megan, do you want people to find you on social media?
I mean, people are welcome to find me on social media if they so desire.
Well, you can say your Instagram if you want.
I
if you
have an
want to be
Instagram
inspired.
account. If you want to be inspired, I have an Instagram account dedicated to my weight loss journey, and
Cool.
it is Grits Gets Fit. Which,
Awesome.
Yep. So, and with me, I mean, Megan, on Genuine Chit Chat, Megan does come on as my occasional co-host on certain episodes.
I'm a self-proclaimed co-host.
Yeah, she just started appearing in certain episodes occasionally, and now she's like a guest star that won't stop appearing.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can find me at Genuine Chit Chat on Twitter, Instagram, and on Facebook. And yeah, if you want to get in touch with me, you can contact me in any of those ways. And if you want to hear from Megan, you can contact me on that, and I'll pass the message on if you don't have Instagram.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, well, that's it, guys. We'll be back soon for the Batman Retrospective Part 2. But for the time being, stay safe, and we'll be back same bat time, same bat channel.